back to another episode here at the Damage Report. Still with that old busted intro that I keep saying I'm gonna replace, but clearly I'm not going to. But we do have something to look forward to, and that is Jason Carter. Jason, how's it going?
John, first, I'm glad to be back. Secondly, for all the dragons out there, I am in the midst of a Florida summer with no air conditioning in my new home, and every door in my house is open, and I am schwitzing out of control. But I'm good. Other than that, I'm great, John. Glad to be back. And introducing my newest coffee addiction. Kirkland cold brew coffee, no calories, no sugar, completely boring, and it's supposed to be reportedly, there are claims that this is healthier for you, so I'm here for it. We're giving it a whirl, but this may be the last time it makes an appearance on the Damage Report, so savor it now.
So you're enjoying that more than like the Monster in the morning?
Well, yeah, I had to give up the Monster because I was reading that it makes certain things not work anymore. And I'm not trying to venture down that lane anytime soon. So I had to, so John, good luck.
Hold on, I need to Google. Anyway, I thought it just gave you a heart attack, but now it's gotten serious.
Right.
Anyway, well, we're glad to have you here in the Florida heat. All he's doing is glowing more, so that's cool. Meanwhile, I'm kind of cold and I look sweatier than he does. So that's cool. Anyway.
Hey, John, look, I would take you looking sweatier and having incredible lighting than me being forced to be in front of a door hoping for the clouds to part to illuminate all of my melanin. So the struggle's real on both coasts.
Lighting. Shut up. Your lighting looks great. Anyway, thank you everybody for being here for our talk. If you are new to the show, it's 90 minutes every weekday about energy drinks and perspiration. It's kind of popular, weirdly. We thought it would be niche, but anyway, we got a lot of news for you. We're gonna be diving into the beginning of the testimony and the investigation of the attack on January 6th, and it has been wild. Some of the reactions have been even more wild. So get ready for a whole bunch of that. Then, did you know the Olympics are going on? I know it's a sports thing, but I looked it up and it is happening. We've got some big developments on that as well. I love this once every 4 years, a reason that I actually want to talk sports. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna see how much Jason has been following it, so that'll be fun. And then, like, what can you expect when it comes to masks and vaccine mandates coming up? We're gonna see great stuff having to do with Matt Gaetz. Members that are soon about to be part of his family are owning him on TikTok. So that sounds like a lot of fun, doesn't it? Well, if you think so, then don't go anywhere. We got a lot coming up for you. And if along the way you'd like to send us any comments, tweets, super chats, or anything like that, we'll respond as we go. Before that, though, if you could hit the like button, that'd be nice. Feel free to share the stream so that people know we're live, and they can join us and take part in the conversation. But other than that, what do you think of Jason? You ready to jump into this thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, with the heat, I might pass out, so we might as well get into it before before we have to call the paramedics. The iguanas outside need to call the paramedics for me.
Yeah, I hear that the iguanas are coming from inside the apartment, actually. Yeah, if we ever go to Jason's shot and it's just empty, he's passed out on the floor, someone please call 911. But anyway, okay, with that, let's jump into this. I think we're going directly into this video.
During the assault, I thought about using my firearm on my attackers, but I knew that if I did, I would be quickly overwhelmed. And that in their minds would provide them with the justification for killing me. So I instead decided to appeal to any humanity they might have. I said as loud as I could manage, "I've got kids."
So that is Michael Fenone that you were hearing right there, one of the Capitol Police officers whose body cam footage from January 6th had some of the toughest to watch, toughest to digest footage from that day of him being surrounded by Trump fans who were doing everything they could to murder him. Some assisting him, thankfully, but many attempting to kill him. He thought about using deadly force, decided not to. Obviously, we're glad for that. Cops generally are too eager to do it. In this case, I think that his thought process was probably true. If he'd begun firing, I believe that they would have killed him, whether with the gun or otherwise. I think that that would have led to more widespread violence, not just where he was at, but potentially rippling through the crowd. So we're gonna have more of Michael Fenone, but Jason, what'd you think about that start for you?
John, first of all, I couldn't agree with you more. That him opening fire inside. I mean, this was the last time we saw this video on the damage report. I got really emotional because, yeah, as he said, as John just said in his testimony, I have children. It's a lot to digest, right? Secondly, yeah, agreeing with you 100%. Had he opened fire, more loss of life would have happened. Then another conversation of police brutality would have been ushered in a different way. It wouldn't have been police brutality against people of color. It would have been some other spun dramatic event of police brutality that would have not ended. It just would have been really bad, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I think that had I been in that situation, I always tried to put myself in the shoes of someone in any misfortunate situation. He had to act fast, act quick, and also save his life. And hats off to him, right? I mean, what else do you do in that situation but try to protect yourself, but also use the training and enacted training that that has been imbued upon you to do your job. It's crazy. And the trauma he's reliving again, right? So it's when you experience it, that's one traumatic event. You're put on the stand, you have to relive that all over again and be very clear and concise and to the point of what happened to you. That's also gotta be painful, not only for him, but you mentioned rippling effects for his family and everyone else that's close to him that could have possibly lost this man.
Exactly. Yeah. Now I want to give you a little bit more of him talking about what was happening, in particular, them trying to take his gun and him believing to kill him with it.
Some in the crowd stepped in and assisted me. Those few individuals protected me from a crowd and inched me toward the Capitol until my fellow officers could rescue me. I was carried back inside. What happened afterwards is much less vivid. I had been beaten unconscious and remained so for more than 4 minutes. I know that Jimmy helped to evacuate me from the building and drove me to MedStar Washington Hospital Center, despite suffering significant injuries himself.
Okay, so I apologize. I was thinking of a different video, but there he does begin the talk about his injuries, including that he had a heart attack, he had a concussion, a traumatic brain injury, and PTSD. In a little bit, we're gonna be giving you some of the response from right wingers who are watching that. So I just want you to bear in mind how badly he was beaten by the MAGA crowd there before we get to that. But that said, let's go to just a little bit more of Michael Fenone, and Jason and I will give you our thoughts.
What makes the struggle harder and more painful is to know so many of my fellow citizens, including so many of the people I put my life at risk to defend, are downplaying or outright denying what happened. I feel like I went to hell and back to protect them and the people in this room. But too many are now telling me that hell doesn't exist or that hell actually wasn't that bad. The indifference shown to my colleagues is disgraceful. My law enforcement career prepared me to cope with some of the aspects of this experience. Being an officer, you know your life is at risk whenever you walk out the door, even if you don't expect otherwise law-abiding citizens to take up arms against you. But nothing, truly nothing, has prepared me to address those elected members of our government who continue to deny the events of that day. And in doing so, betray their oath of office.
And they've been doing it since the event, or to be clear, some of them immediately after the event seemed to get what was going on and were clearly worried about backlash from the electorate. I mean, even Kevin McCarthy had said that Trump was responsible for this. But then they collected themselves, they looked out their right-wing media and at the MAGA base and realized, oh no, wait, they're cool with this. They're gonna run with it. They're fine with it, so now we're fine with it. And so as Michael Fenone was saying, Jason, they have spent all the time up until now, including today, denying that it's serious, that it's something you should worry about. Nothing should be done. It doesn't reflect badly on anyone except, I don't know, maybe Antifa or something.
Well, I mean, so visually and audibly listening to Michael's testimony, it's indicative of the treachery that has that. And again, people always come at me for entering color into the situation, but marginalized groups of people have been talking about this treachery that's been happening for years, right? We protect veterans people who serve our countries do their jobs, protect everyone, regardless of their intentions. And yet, here's Michael Fenone, who was doing his job and was attacked by the same people that he was sworn to protect. And the face of who's saying this is a cisgender white male, right? This is like the holy grail of existence in our country. And he's saying, smacking his hand on the table, you all betrayed me, right? You all tried to kill me. John, he mentioned, and then you also mentioned that he had PTSD, a heart attack, a concussion, almost died, right? All of those things could have ended his life, and all those things are going to add to the continuous PTSD that he's going to experience from now, probably for the rest of his life. So I think it's a very cautionary tale to all of these people who are on that right base. That, as you said, they collected themselves and realized, no, we got to fall back in line. We got to get information because we don't want our well-being to be affected. This is a cautionary tale that, there is no loyalty here, regardless, and not to mitigate or minimize what he experienced, not at all. I'm just drawing a parallel as to the two-faced nature of these people that are saying, hey, the insurrection on January 6th didn't happen. No, homeboy, it did happen, and one of your own, if you will, is saying, I'm a victim of that. Wake up, get it together. I am the face of that, and I'm not a dark face. I'm not a brown face. I am a white face.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. The testimony is powerful to the extent that people see it. It should be powerful, and supposedly, at least at the beginning, Fox was actually showing what was going on. OAN wasn't. I don't know about Newsmax. We'll see if they stuck with it throughout, because there's other cops that came up, and we're going to show you some of their video. But that is powerful. But then, I don't even think we need, what he said was great. But just seeing the body cam footage, I think tells the story pretty well, but wait, I guess not, because that's been out for months and it didn't convince anyone of anything. It's just like, it's the final nail in the coffin of, well, God, if we only had video, it would convince people. I mean, since when has body cam footage convinced supporters of cops anything? In this case, they're against the cops. And again, it's not convenient. We don't like what's on the video, so we're gonna pretend it's not there. That is no way to go through your life. Just because something is inconvenient, you can't just run from it, except tens of millions of Americans are currently doing that. So another reason why this testimony is important, and I don't know Michael Fenone, I don't know anything about his politics. All I know is that he is saying what happened to him, and I am hoping that people won't be able to deny it.
Right, I mean, he has no reason to lie, and what if your question was, okay, the holy grail of receipts, if you will, and the holy grail of proof is video, right? It's footage. The camera doesn't lie. It's what else do we need? Do we need TikTok, a TikTok challenge? Do we need billboards plastered everywhere? Do we need a meme on social media? Do we need YouTube videos? Like, what is it gonna take for people to believe this? Because anyone watching this, like John, I consider myself a very balanced and not an emotional person. I'm not moved a lot with things. I'm very, very methodical with stuff. When I heard that video and saw that video, you guys were here, you guys watching, I was moved to tears by that. That was so visceral. Any human being watching that, any politician.
Get ready.
Yeah, it's
get ready, because we got some more, man. It's gonna get rough. But that said, first, Officer Mike Fenone was the first to his testimony at the Capitol Commission started to go viral. People were really paying attention to it, but not everyone who was paying attention to it was convinced by what he was saying. Now, I want you to bear in mind, this is a police officer who was nearly beaten to death by a crowd of Trump supporters. Trump supporters who say they back the blue, they've got the blue line flag and everything, and then they use it to try to beat cops they don't like to death. So that was an ultimate betrayal of that supposed patriotism that they have when it comes to cops. As that's going on, as his footage is playing live, the most successful and popular host at Newsmax, Greg Kelly, who I'm sure you haven't heard of, but I guess there's millions of conservatives who care what he thinks, tweeted, "Sorry, but I don't think this guy was ever cut out to be a cop." He's talking about how they nearly murdered him, as he is desperately trying to still do his duty and stop them from getting in and killing elected representatives. Sorry, I don't think he was ever cut out to be a cop. Then he says, is it possible Fenone was mistaken for Antifa? He often, for media appearances, is worn all black, but no insignia, police patches, rank. Wait, So, okay, so it wasn't that they were trying to kill a cop, they were trying to kill Antifa, even though you all think he was being attacked by Antifa. So why are they attacking him at that point? I don't understand that at all. That was just the first two of several more. This guy should have never been out there. He's got a chip on his shoulder. No, he doesn't have a chip on his shoulder. He has a traumatic brain injury because your fans nearly beat him to death. But as it's going on, like I expected, Jason, they would just back off. Like, this is gonna be really inconvenient. It's best if we don't even acknowledge it. No, they're going hard against the cops that their fans tried to kill.
Right. The lack of human decency. I have five uncles who are police officers in 3 major metropolitan areas, and I talked to 2 of them about what happened, and even they said that is like the scariest thing they've seen. These people work in major metropolitan areas with some pretty bad crime, right? Also, he's saying that he would be Antifa because he wears black all the time and there's no patches. Well, there's a lot of undercover cops that don't wear police uniforms and have patches, and they're not very clear that they're law enforcement. What is that, right? These tweets are, can I say bitch on the Young Turks? That's not a bad word, right?
You can. You also already did, but yes, you can.
Okay, sorry. Those tweets are what
it's too late at this point.
Yeah, please, FCC, don't come for me. Those are bitch moves from that tweeter whose name I will not. He's like Voldemort. He shall not be mentioned, because again, it goes back to the jettisoning of seeing this person's life almost ended, right? Because you're so staunch in how you feel politically, and you're so staunch on trying to keep this narrative going. Instead of, the lesser of 2 evils, John, would be to just stop talking about it, which is also very egregious. However, I would rather them not say anything than to go hard in the paint and go ham sandwiches and really say this guy is not cut out to be a cop who's given his life to being a cop, right? That's probably like the very fiber and cellular makeup of his being is being a law enforcement person and gives him purpose in his life. So you're gonna go to Twitter and say he's not cut out to be a cop. Yo, get behind your keyboard and you go and do what this person does daily. And then come back and see who's not cut out to be a cop, right?
Yeah, you're totally right. And look, the entire subject is obviously rife with, like you have this particular incident, and then you have it occurring in a context where we're having a general nationwide conversation about policing, about violence of police, about other protests, and many people want to muddy the waters. Like the same people who are out today saying you shouldn't be worried about the 6th or whatever, trying to say, but you should be worried about the protests last year, even though this was a crowd ideologically in solidarity with each other, trying to break into a particular location to murder politicians and to destroy property. That's what they were trying to do. They will pretend that that's what any of the protests were about last year, but of course that is not true. These people were trying to murder the cops. They were trying to beat the cops to death. Nobody at the Black Lives Matter protests were trying to do that. That's not at all what it was about. And I'm just so sick of it's worse than whataboutism. Because whataboutism is sort of in a cowardly fashion asking questions to distract from the topic. This is about spinning this entire narrative designed to erase what all of these different individuals and groups tried to do last year. And in the midst of it, pretending that there can be some sort of consistency in your back the blue thing and being for law and order and doing 6 months of PR for people who tried to murder these cops.
Right.
In any event, we do have some other cops that I want to give you a bit of their testimony. So this morning, Sergeant Gonell of the US Capitol Police also talked about what happened to him on the 6th, and here is some of what he had to say.
We were subjected that day was like something from a medieval battle. We fought hand to hand, inch by inch, to prevent an invasion of the Capitol by a violent mob intent on subverting our democratic process. My fellow officers and I were committed to not letting any rioters breach the Capitol. It was a prolonged and desperate struggle. The rioters attempted to breach the Capitol were shouting, "Trump, send us." Pick the right side. We want Trump. I vividly heard officers screaming in agony and pain, just an arm length from me. I didn't know at that time, but that was Officer Hodges. He's here today to testify. I too was being crushed by the rioters. I could feel myself losing oxygen and recall thinking to myself, this is how I'm going to die, defending this entrance.
So another cop who, yeah, he thought that was last moments, but there he's talking specifically about the pro-Trump chants, them saying choose the right side. Like they are talking in the language of a coup. We're coming in, we want the defenders of democracy to join us so that we can succeed in overthrowing it. But again, Jason, you're supposed to ignore all of that. We don't know who politically these people were. I mean, God only knows, but the cops sure seem to know.
They did. My silence is saying 1,000 words. I mean, you have another, and I wasn't silent for long. That's not my nature.
That's true. It's still a record.
Yeah, it sure is. It's a cold brew. Again, another person, John, that a firsthand account and saying the same thing, giving more behind the scenes of the scenes we saw to further corroborate what happened there, what went on, and I don't know, I don't have anything else to say that I haven't said already here or just on Twitter or anyplace else about this. That it's very indicative of the country we live in, and great point about it's worse than whataboutism. It's just there's just no. It's inhumane to me, and it's like,
yeah.
God,
well,
I mean, what do you say? What do you say? What do you say?
Well, I mean, what I say is I instantly think if you had asked me 5 years ago if this were to happen, would they defend it? And I would say, well, I hope not. So now I wonder, what if they'd blown a big portion of the Capitol building up? What if they had killed 5 cops? What if they had killed Mike Pence? What line would you have to cross before Tucker Carlson wouldn't have done 6 months defending them? Is it any of those?
John, right?
I don't know.
You're right, and it's a shame. First, John, brilliant question, because I think that's where the rubber meets the road. But I would imagine, honestly, and here's how crappy of how down the gutter of my thought process is. Even let's say they did murder someone in Congress or someone in the executive branch that was super important. I mean, they're all important, but someone that was like really crucial to our American government. I still feel like they would media and these super against staunch supporters of their rhetoric would be like, well, you know what? He's just a casualty. Yeah. 1, and then 2, they would still try to spin it and try to justify what happened. Mike Pence would have been, or anyone that would have been in time, that would have been like, well, you know, that's just what happens. You know, like it's for the great good.
Or like the worse the thing you have to cover for, well, then the worse the conspiracy theory needs to become to defend it. Like if Tucker Carlson spent a couple of weeks saying the FBI did this and then moved on, he doesn't even talk about it anymore, and everybody's just like, oh, that was a fun thought experiment. I guess it didn't matter that he said the FBI caused it. Well, then if they killed Mike Pence, that's the FBI. Well, it's gotta be the FBI now because they did something really bad, or it's somebody working for the CIA, or God only knows. They would come up with something to excuse it. They always will. And like, it's not like there's less call for political violence today than there was 6 months ago. Mm-hmm. I don't know where it's gonna be, what it's gonna look like, who are gonna be the casualties, but they are going to kill politicians. And then we're gonna have to do a show the next morning, talking about here's what Sean Hannity said to defend it. Here's Tucker Carlson saying this is a distraction from the ruling class or whatever. We're gonna have to do that. That's the job we're gonna have to do because it's the country we unfortunately live in.
Right.
Now, really fast, a couple more details on Gonell. He's an immigrant from the Dominican Republic and a naturalized US citizen. He said one of the Capitol rioters, quote, saw my skin color and said, you're not even an American. So that's fun. And then on Trump saying that the MAGA rioters were hugging and kissing the police, he said, quote, I'm still recovering from those hugs and kisses that day. If that was hugs and kisses, then we should all go to his house and do the same thing to him, which is fiery. Yeah. Talking there about Trump, but yeah, they millions of people believe, yeah, it was just hugs and kisses, it was fine. Simultaneously, it was Antifa terrorists and they were just doing hugs and kisses, whichever it needs to be. at any given second for me to not have to think about the natural path that the political ideology I'm a part of is going toward. Anyway, look, we're gonna have more on this. It's going to get even darker and it's gonna get even more racist, but we do have to take our first break. So we're gonna do that, but stick around. A lot more really terrible footage coming up after this.
Sorry, I had stuff on my face.
It's okay. Anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to the little social break we're having here. Man, isn't the news fun some days? Anyway, let's see what's going on out there. Okay, I think this is on YouTube. A non-human humanist says, Jason is such an awesome person. He's giving everyone a great time.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad I could be a sense of light for you guys today.
Thank you, you are. Yeah, the funny thing is you talked in that segment about, not being like swayed emotionally, and I get what you mean, but I wouldn't have guessed that because you always seem so optimistic. You seem to be driven by, you've got like a little bit of it's not the same vibe, but a little bit of the Ted Lasso thing. You just seem to keep centered positive emotions more than most people.
Hey, we've all had skid marks. It's a part of growing up. That's from Ted Lasso.
Oh, is that really? I don't remember that line.
It's in the promo for season 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't watched season 2 yet. I know it's been out for a few days.
Our producer Sophie got it. She got it. She was like, "Yeah, Jay, I got you." Okay, it's kind of gross, but I got it.
Jeez, I will say that there is now I went on eBay and I got a replica of his Believe sign, and it's in my writing hut above the door.
Nice.
But anyway, Daedalus, thank you for becoming a tier 1 member over on YouTube. I appreciate that. Tahira just said on Twitch, hey John and Jason, great coverage of a horrific subject. Thank you. We're trying. It's always, I don't know.
I'm glad, John. But here's the thing. I'm glad that not that I'm glad that these 2 officers were able to have their testimony, because I'm not glad that what has happened to them, but I'm glad that they're able to, as I said, that they are the face that we can see this, right? And it's gonna resonate with someone. The people that are the loudest are a small sample that we're hearing from the most because they have the bigger platforms like the Tucker Carlsons and whatnot. But there's a whole swath of people who are like, whoa, right? That hearing these testimonies will change not only what they thought about January 6th, but also what they thought about a lot of things that may have been wrong about groups of people, about politics, about COVID, maybe, who knows? So I think there may be a silver lining there.
I hope some people are watching. I hope, but we'll see. We're gonna see tomorrow. Big News Wednesday with J.R. Jackson is going to be the first post primetime Fox News night. We're gonna see what they said. We're gonna show you video in a little bit of Harry Dunn. Tucker Carlson 2 weeks ago already started the attacks against Harry Dunn. Wait until you see this video, and then you tell me what Tucker Carlson is gonna say about him later tonight. So we'll see. Anyway, Derpy Dino says, I wanna make an apology for people in Central Ohio. I work for Amazon, and one of our warehouse's power was knocked out. A semi slammed through a transformer, and I can't stop laughing. That sounds incredibly dangerous. Hopefully everyone is okay. Okay, Zombol says all the GOP response is like a fighter jet deploying flares and chaff. It's just radar or infrared noise to confuse missile tracking. In short, it's a desperate panic, last ditch defense. Sure, I don't know about the last ditch because they've been doing that for a long time. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Carrie Venus, thank you for your super sticker, much appreciated. Jay Fergie says, Skater Dragon, wondering if the right will respond to the officers fearing for their lives the same as AOC fearing for hers. They're not that awful, right? Hi, Jason.
Hi.
Yeah, they're going to mock the cops for being worried about their impending death. And that seems crazy, that seems impossible. They're gonna find a way. Grift finds a way to twist the Jurassic Park thing. Another name says, what line would have to be crossed for it to be an issue? Great question, John. Also good thoughts from Carter. Thank you, much appreciated. And more news coming up after this. Okay, so our first segment had some rough footage. In some ways, it might even get a little bit harder to watch as we launch into this next section. Officer Harry Dunn was testifying before Congress this morning, and he had a lot to say, including the clear racial element in the mob that attacked the Capitol. Let's take a look.
I told them to just leave the Capitol, and in response, they yelled, "No, man, this is our house." President Trump invited us here. We're here to stop the steal. Joe Biden is not the president. Nobody voted for Joe Biden. I'm a law enforcement officer, and I do my best to keep politics out of my job. But in this circumstance, I responded, well, I voted for Joe Biden. Does my vote not count? Am I nobody? That prompted a torrent of racial epithets. One woman in a pink MAGA shirt yelled, "You hear that, guys? This nigger voted for Joe Biden." Then the crowd, perhaps around 20 people, joined in screaming, "Boo, fucking nigger." No one had ever called me a nigger while wearing the uniform of a Capitol Police officer. In the days following the attempted insurrection, other Black officers shared with me their own stories of racial abuse on January 6th. One officer told me he had never, and in his entire 40 years of life, been called a nigger to his face, and that streak ended on January 6th. Yet another Black officer later told me he had been confronted by insurrectionists in the Capitol who told him, "Put your gun down and we'll show you what kind of nigger you really are." To be candid, the rest of the afternoon is a blur.
Yeah, sort of understandably.
Yeah.
Jason?
One, I'm glad that C-SPAN allowed for that officer to say verbatim what happened to him without bleeping him, without him being preempted, without any kind of editing, because that is the country we are living in, right? That's real. Those filthy people thought they had that they could disrespect someone who has given their life to protect and serve at all costs, right? And he said, beyond. I mean, I've been called the N-word a lot in my life, so to me, it's like that's all you got. That's the best you can do. I mean, just don't call me ugly. Call me whatever you want. Just don't call me ugly. That's a fight. But
oh my God.
For him to say, in all my years on the force in uniform, I've never been called that. And this was someone who also had his physical life in jeopardy. But listening to the intonation and the tone, him being called that word pierced him to his soul. You could just tell by the way he is present in what happened, revisiting, being re-traumatized yet again about what happened on January 6th. So I'm glad that mainstream media outlet didn't mince words. They said this is the good, the bad, not even the good. This is the bad, the ugly, the very ugly, and the Medusa ugly of all of this.
Exactly.
And for those that are watching, because we have a huge audience here. Not everyone is a hater or a troll, but for those that are watching that are still saying that racism doesn't exist, that the MAGA people they're not racist. They just believe in capitalism and all these things. There's your proof from the horse's mouth, from a stable of horses. Racism is alive and well in the United States, folks. Racism is alive and well on the right.
Yeah, and look, it's clear that they're not just racist. They're perfectly willing to murder white cops too, but they're definitely racist. I don't like, there's not a lot of people in the MAGA crowd that's like, it disheartens me that these people, these brothers in arms politically, sometimes say things that are racially insensitive. I wish that we would evolve in that way. That's not going on at these marches and these crowds, unfortunately. And so I agree with Jason, totally right. Like that C-SPAN not censoring it is so important for people to understand how raw, how ugly it is, especially, and we'll see if they end up seeing it, but those who've gone through more than 6 months of stuff like this from Tucker Carlson. There's no evidence that white supremacists were responsible for what happened on January 6th. That's a lie. Month after month after month, broadcast after broadcast after broadcast to millions of viewers, denying that there was any racial angle to any of it, despite the shirts, the pro-Holocaust shirts and things like that. Yeah, there's just nothing. It's just people who disagree a little bit or whatever, and they're probably Antifa anyway. No, we know who they were. We know what they came to do. And Harry Dunn was a very important part of people getting that message. The power of what Harry Dunn said, his ability to make the case, is the reason that Tucker Carlson launched the preemptive war against him. And that war, bet every dollar you have, will continue later on tonight. And we're gonna see just how ugly the counter strike against Harry Dunn is going to be later tonight on Fox.
And how could, I understand a job's a job. Tucker Carlson, it's paid millions of dollars. He's a very prominent face of Fox News. But as a journalist, as someone who's, your job is to report the news factually, and to have, we love sources like a Harry Dunn that we can go to, who was boots on the ground, experienced exactly what happened on January 6th and can get their firsthand account. That's great for news outlets because that's what we want. We want to report the news, and that is news. So for Tucker Carlson to go on national TV and to ignore that, if Tucker Carlson was worth his salt as a journalist, he would invite Harry Dunn on and have a dialogue with that person, with Harry Dunn on air, versus wasting time, looking like an idiot, acting like this hasn't happened. That to me is good journalism. That to me, I don't watch Fox News. Tucker Carlson's neither here nor there for me. I prefer Megyn Kelly on Fox News, but she's now, I don't know what Megyn Kelly's doing these days. She's
a podcast, I think.
Right, she was YouTube, now she's a podcaster. Wow, fall from grace. But
not far enough.
Not far enough, yeah. But shout out to podcasters, but not Megyn Kelly. But Tucker Carlson, as a journalist, you need to, instead of trying to be a puppet for your employer, which I guess he has to be, why don't you do the right thing and do the right thing? So I'm excited to see what they say tonight too.
We'll see. I could be wrong. Maybe he wants to bring Harry Dunn on so he can attack him. I sort of doubt it though. He doesn't. He brings on people who will help him to make the case that will push for what he wants politically. We saw, who was the economist from Denmark years ago? If you come on and you disagree with him, if you being there doesn't help him advance the narrative, you don't come back on. That's not what happens. So Harry Dunn is not going to back down from Tucker Carlson's attacks. And I think Tucker Carlson gets that. So I doubt that any invitation has been offered. I could be wrong, we'll see, but I sort of doubt it.
I doubt it too. Fox News, what was their slogan? I'm not sure it's that anymore. Fair and balanced news, anything but fair and balanced.
100%.
Joke.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to one more of these videos. DC police officer Daniel Hodges was one of the last that we were able to watch before going live this morning. And he had among the darker experiences to relate about what happened on the 6th. Here it goes.
I attempted to rip the baton from my hands and we wrestled for control. I retained my weapon after I pushed him back. He yelled at me, "You're on the wrong team." Cut off from our leadership, which was at the front of our formation, we huddled up and assessed the threats surrounding us. One man tried and failed to build a rapport with me, shouting, "Are you my brother?" Another takes a different tack, shouting, "You will die on your knees."
They weren't violent. They stayed within the lines. They were like tourists. We have senators who are still saying that and will still say that after watching cop after cop after cop say, these people were saying they were going to kill me. They were trying to kill me. They did serious damage to me. Tomorrow, senators in the most distinguished deliberative body in the history of world governments will say, no, they were just there taking a look at things. They were tourists, not a big deal. Why are you worried about this?
Right,
by the way, I believe, really fast, I believe he was the cop. There's the video of him being crushed by the door in the doorway. I believe Daniel Hodges was the officer in that video.
More video, right? Cell phone activism at its finest right here. Yeah. But no, we need more proof. We have, okay, so we have cops on the stand, emotional, distraught. We have video, we have audio. No, now we need for God to descend upon the earth and to completely, glamour us like they did on what's that the vampire show on HBO with Suki Waterhouse.
True Blood.
True Blood, glamour us and make us see everything and compel us. No, the proof is there. The proof is there. And I will say this, hopefully, forget Tucker Carlson, forget the media. Hopefully, justice will prevail in the legal system. Hopefully, people will be held accountable. there, John.
Yeah.
I feel like that's that's the last frontier, and it's not much of a frontier, but that is the last frontier for accountability and culpability.
Yeah, and some have. We'll see how it proceeds. A country should be able to look at an event like that and draw something like the right conclusions from it. And
Agreed.
We're going to see if that's what we get. In 10 years, what will people think when they think of January 6th? If they think of it at all, we're deciding right now what that's going to look like. Okay, we are the Daily Stefanik. We're gonna get to the counterattack tomorrow. I'm done with it for now. So we're gonna take a short break. When we come back, the Olympics is on. We're gonna really switch it up tone-wise and launch into some of the developments on the Olympics before getting to other political news. So consider this the thing to wipe the taste from your mouth of the awful political violence we have in this country. We're gonna take a break. We'll be back in just a few. Okay, everybody, thank you for being here. By the way, it's Sookie Stackhouse, Jason. Sookie Waterhouse, do you even pop culture?
The model, I know, she's a model. Listen, I was put on the spot. It's really hot, I'm sweating. I can't be held accountable for what comes out of my mouth when I'm like 101 degrees Lord, I'm sorry. But Sookie Stackhouse and Bill, Bill, I love you, Bill. Bill, don't do it.
I thought that was her. That was Anna Paquin right there. No, I really like that show. I kind of want to watch it again. Anyway, it also has one of the great TV themes. I love that theme song. Anyway, okay, let's see what's going on out there in the audience. First of all, Z Huddle over on Twitch, thank you for gifting a tier 1 sub. I saw that, thank you. Rebel Mitch subscribed for the 13th month, says, woohoo, lucky 13. Thank you for being here. Okay, NZ Cassie subscribed for 5 months, says, love TDR. When the world opens up again, John and this must have been from yesterday. Says, John and Franny, you should come visit New Zealand, a place to stay and crazy hobbit adventures aplenty. I would love to see New Zealand and Australia. Australia's probably in like my top 3 places I'd like to go. And if I could hop on over to New Zealand while I'm there, I'd like to do that as well. Okay, CarpODB says BLM was trying to not be killed by cops. 1-6 was trying to kill cops. They're not the same. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like, I don't know. There's just gonna be nonsense, grifty BS saying that like if you care about the fact that these right wingers are trying to kill this cop, that you're pro cop or whatever. Like, get some nuance, get some context. Seriously, like having to do this career thing that we do with having people who are also doing it who are basically babies intellectually can be really annoying. We can look at a situation. We can figure out the actual facts of it and we can respond accordingly, being guided by our values. We can do that. I think we can do that. Anyway, Zephyr subscribed for 9 months over on Twitch. Very much appreciated. Diamond Joker gifted 5 tier 1 subs. Thank you, Diamond Joker. How nice of you. BC Trumpet gifted 2. BC Trumpet, you're the best. Thank you so much. Over on Twitch, or over on hashtag TDR Live, I should say, over on Twitter, Eclectic Miscellaneous says, some insurrectionists helped protect this cop. As bad as most MAGA folks are, all aren't completely lost. If we can get them out of the Fox News echo chamber, they could go back to being regular conservatives, or at least realize that a coup doesn't protect the country. Yes, that is an important thing to point out. It isn't much of a silver lining that they were willing to go there and attack the Capitol, but didn't want to personally kill a cop. But it is still something that is good. Thank you, Eclectic. I appreciate that. Dissidaling subscribed for 4 months and said, Dichi, sorry, Dichi Darling, even spelled it for me. Says, Jason, you could never be called ugly. You're always glowing.
Thanks. It's the humidity. And this filter, this Skype filter.
What's wrong with Sophie? Is his filter not great? His lighting is better than mine. Mine is too harsh.
It's natural.
I'm just gonna say it.
Guys, look, I'm in front of, look, let me give the audience a view of what's happening outside. Look, I'm in front of a window, everyone, like overlooking a pond, which is really peaceful, by the way. It's very zen. Yeah. But yeah, I'm back, guys. I'm back.
Okay, so those doors are open, which means it is unlikely but not impossible that an alligator could come walking into his living room any second. It happens.
Or a huge iguana, AKA monitor lizard, because they are an invasive species here in Florida. And 2 fell from the open air conditioner vent yesterday. Like just hi guys, I'm here.
They were trying to break into your house.
I know.
Anyway,
they were.
We gotta. We got to get back to the news. We only got a couple seconds, but we'll talk about it later on. Don't worry. We'll be back after this. Anyway, there you are. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's me, John Iadarola and Jason Carter. Let's jump into some very different news. Unfortunate news for the Olympics this morning. Simone Biles had to withdraw from the women's team gymnastic final in the Olympics. It is obviously bad news for her many fans. Women's gymnastics is generally one of the sports people most look forward to. She is one of the most accomplished, if not the most accomplished women's gymnasts in the history of the sport. So it was sad to see it. We want to give you the details though. While performing her Aminar vault during the first rotation of the team competition, she only managed 1.5 rotations and landed awkwardly, prompting gasps from onlookers. She exited the competition after the vault and headed off the floor with a team doctor. She came back to the arena, hugged her teammates, and watched the rest of the competition in her warm-up uniform. At the time, there was a statement saying from USA Gymnastics saying she had to withdraw due to a medical issue. She will be assessed daily to determine medical clearance for future competitions. Now, she has since said that I just didn't want to go on after that performance. I'm just dealing with things internally that will get fixed in the next couple of days. No injury, thankfully. It's been really stressful this Olympic Games. I think we're just a little bit too stressed out, but we should be out here having fun, and sometimes that's not the case. She later on said, there's more to life than just gymnastics. So initially they'd made it seem as if she had injured herself in the vault. It apparently was not the case, but she, at least for now, will not be competing. There is, of course, also the individual all around. There are the individual event competitions that'll be taking place. No word yet that I have found about whether she will be competing in those. But Jason, what are your thoughts?
I mean, look, Simone Biles said it, quoting her, the weight of the world is on her shoulders. This is someone who is very decorated as a gymnast. This is the Olympics. Of course, last year in 2020, they were postponed because of the pandemic. 4 years is a long time to be training for this. Also, she is, every Olympiad has the story, the stars. In 96, Atlanta, Carrie Strug, the Atlanta 6. Every single Olympiad has that one person, Michael Phelps. The list goes on and on that you're watching for, right? They become the stories, the celebrities, the narrative for the US. Beyond the scandal that Team USA Gymnastics has had with, of course, with the inappropriate behavior of the past, gymnastics has always been something that has been at the forefront for the Olympics. That's what we watch. That's prime time. That's great TV. And Simone Biles is young, and also she's at a space in her life where, yeah, she has the medals, but she's realizing, much like Naomi Osaka, who talked about mental health, that's important, right? The pandemic, John, and everyone watching, people can stop and say, hey, I wasn't affected by that, but we all were affected in some way, shape, or form, even world-class athletes. And as someone who's been training for 5 years now to be here in Tokyo, which is a really weird experience watching the Olympics now because there's no audience, the fanfare is not there. The news is constantly saying, oh my, it's a $20 billion failure. That affects an athlete. And she's like, I didn't have the best performance, and I don't owe anyone anything, right? I don't owe you guys anything. I'm a human being. Let me live. So I commend Simone, and I think it's funny how USA Gymnastics, of course, the PR team had to make sure they were ready with that statement.
Yeah,
that was in alignment with what you would say. And Simone's like, skirt, hard swerve, pivot, full stop. Nope, that's not what we're doing.
And she's honest.
Yeah, she's honest, and I appreciate that. No one's gonna take away from her, even if she doesn't do well this Olympiad. No one's gonna take away from who she is in sports history. And
she's already had all those wins.
I mean, now this is just like, okay, cool, fine. What's another gold medal when I have 4 other ones? What's another gold medal when I'm in the Guinness Book of World Records at such a young age and I've changed the game of the sport?
Exactly. Yeah. She doesn't owe it to anyone. Nobody can touch her. Literally, she'll just flip over you or whatever. If she doesn't want to compete, she doesn't have to. And there's others on the team who will. I'm glad that you brought up the Carrie Strug thing on social media. Many people were using the experience of Carrie Strug back in 1996 to attack Simone Biles. First of all, as a person who watched that Olympics, that's what got me into Olympics and gymnastics. Screw you.
Right.
First of all, don't get Carrie Strug's name out of your mouth. First of all. Second of all, it's weird to use that as so you should hurt yourself because someone else did. So first of all, there's people are helping to add the context. she didn't have to. She was like forced into it by Bella Caroli because he couldn't do the math to know that they'd already won the gold. She didn't need to do the second vault. And then also, of course, she was like carried off and then handed to Larry Nassar. So like that time was dark, okay? Let's not say that women should be obligated to be in the sort of situation they were in then. Anyway, especially because Simone Biles, I believe, is one of those who's talked about the legacy of abuse in her own experience there. So she can do whatever the hell she wants, honestly. And the rest of the team is amazing. I'm not gonna talk about the results because I have this really weird attachment to not having things spoiled. And I know some people are gonna watch it later, but anyway, they got a great team. Don't worry about it. Okay, with that, you wanna turn to some good news?
Let's pivot.
Okay, let's do that. So, yesterday on the show, we talked about the fact that the Philippines, for the first time in 97 years, got a gold medal. They had a weightlifter who got a gold medal. That was awesome. In the US, the first ever individual foil gold medal. A woman got that. And now today, with a population of just 63,000, Bermuda has become the smallest nation or territory to win an Olympic gold medal for the first time again in about 100 years. Flora Duffy clinched the victory for the British Island Territory in women's individual triathlon, a grueling race made up of open water swimming for nearly a mile, biking almost 25 miles, and running 4.6 miles, or what I would call just death 3 ways. But anyway, she did it and got the gold. She crossed the finish line with a time of 1 hour, 55 minutes, 36, or 1 hour, 55 minutes, 36 seconds, I believe. More than a minute ahead of second place finisher, Georgia Taylor Brown of Great Britain. The American won the bronze in that.
You know,
Bermuda's the second Olympic medal of any kind, by the way, for Bermuda. Isn't that amazing? Since 1976.
Her workout consists of her just running around the island for a day. You know what I mean? Like she swam around the
whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a walk in the park for her. Hell, I'll do that at the Olympics. That's what I do every day. I get up, I run around the island, I swim around the island, and I'm done. It's just kidding. No, congratulations. So, you know, John, I know you're a huge fan of the Olympics. I too. I'm more of a winter Olympics kind of guy. I remember getting into the one Olympics I remember the most was '88 Seoul, Korea, and then when I was 12 for Barcelona in 1992, I just remember just the stories and just how magical the Olympics are because they come once every 4 years. You have the logo, the how the IOC selects the city 7 years before, you know, and just it's the bidding process. It's all so magical and powerful. And now thinking about Tokyo, which I think this is the second time that Tokyo's had the Olympics. I could be wrong. No, I'm sorry, Beijing had it twice, winter and summer. But this year just feels off for me. It just feels off. It feels like
everything is off. But you know, they're still trying. I've been watching a lot of different sports I've never watched before. It's still fun, you know, it's not the exact same thing, but it can't be, and it's not on the athletes. You know, I think there is still a magic to it, and it is that like none of us generally get experiences like this. Like you work and you do all that stuff, but it's not all leading up to this one huge thing. We like that, the crystallization of so much work, getting to see it. And so, congratulations to the athlete from Bermuda.
You said the crystallization, John. I mean, just the vocab, John. You're otherworldly, brother. In 1994,
I should get the gold medal in that.
Right? Yeah, you should. You should definitely because like crystallization. I mean, the words you use are just like pow. In 2004, I think 2003, Muhammad Ali ran the Olympic torch. Came through Albuquerque for Athens because 2004 games were in Athens, and I just remember the city because they ran through Route 66, and that goes through Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I just remember such a moment, right? Like it's like Haley's comment. You're never going to experience that ever again in your life. And it's just so magical. And it's funny how when you're younger, 4 years seems like a long time, right? 4 years like, oh my God, we gotta wait another 4 years for the Olympics. But now it's just.
It does come.
Right.
It does come. Yeah. Okay, well, let's unfortunately end on a down note. Not everyone is feeling the magic of the Olympics. Some who call themselves patriots, they love to pretend that they're all about the country, rah, rah, America's number one. They kind of prefer when America's not number one. And here, I'm not talking about Trump, who's like on a week-long thing attacking the Olympics, although there will be a bit of this here. Newsmax, they are trying to line up behind Trump in attacking US Olympic athletes, as you'll see. We do not have it? Well, that's gonna hurt the story. Okay, so here's what happened. The stage is set. It's Newsmax. There's some red, white, and blue, and he comes up and says, "Woke is bad." Anyway, I got nothing then in that. So anyway, let's move on to just give you a little bit of an update on what's going on actually in Tokyo. This won't be a full story, but you should know that they were worried about COVID being spread if the Olympics went on, and whether it's caused by that or not, COVID is spreading. They just reported 2,848 new cases of COVID-19 in Tokyo, specifically breaking a previous record set in January. And so that, to put it in perspective, that is right around or slightly higher than what we have in LA County. And I think of it as being really bad in LA County. And there, they only have about 25.5% of the country's population being vaccinated. 36% have had one dose. So it kind of feels like a little bit of the predictions are coming true. Although again, we can't say to what extent the Olympics specifically is responsible for it, Jason.
Well, right. I mean, people are you can't until people are automatically going to assume, because this is like a huge gathering, if you will, of people. It's a huge event. People are going to be flocking to try to see these things at the Olympics or at the hands of all this. But question for you and question for the viewers, like, why are people this is probably the dumbest question I'm gonna ask for 2021, but why are people not getting vaccinated? I don't get it. I understand fear of needles. I have a fear of needles. I cried at Publix here. My husband had to hold my hand. I'm 41 years old. Really, what's going on? But why are people not?
Well, so obviously it's complex even in the US, but in a lot of these other countries, they can't get enough of them. Like countries like the US and other wealthy countries are the ones who have the pads. They're producing it and they're buying up international supplies. So I can't say for sure. It's possible there's some anti-vax sentiment in Japan that I don't know about, but in a lot of these countries, it's just not available. Like I saw a report, Namibia has had one dose, according to a report that I saw so far. And there's tons of people that would love to have it. They just literally can't get it. It's not available. And remember, there was this push to get a patent waiver for international production of the vaccine. And enough countries, including the US, didn't support it. So there's not the waiver. They can't produce their own vaccines. And so they're basically just held hostage, just waiting until eventually the supplies are available. And right now they're not. Wow. But anyway, that is all the time we have for the Linear Hour. So thank you everybody who joined us for that. There is a lot of other news coming. So if you're on Twitch or YouTube, don't go anywhere. We're gonna take a short break and we'll be right back after this. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. A little technical issues there, but we've got a lot more news to get to. Turns out we produce too much, so let's see what we can do. But before we get to that, I did want to let you know about a few things that are coming up, including the fact that Indisputable will be coming up in about a little bit less than 30 minutes. You've got not only Dr. Rashad Ritchie, you also have Adrian Lawrence, his co-host on Tuesdays. Michael Loftus will be on for debate, and all of that is available at youtube.com/indisputable_TYT coming up right after the damage report. Another reminder that this Thursday, 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time will be our monthly live Q&A for our tier 3 members on YouTube. We always have a lot of fun. There's a great group that gathers once a month for that. If you'd like to take part, you can either upgrade your membership or become a member at tier 3 on YouTube, which would then also get you access to the emojis, the badge, the top 10 lists every week, and all of that as well. Also, realized I forgot to do the poll earlier. So, hey, we have a poll for the January 6th thing. So, Liz Cheney was talking about doing subpoenas. Do you think that the House Select Committee will actually subpoena Trump? That poll is available at tyt.com/polls. If you'd like to go and vote. Will they actually pull the trigger on a subpoena of the former president? I want to see what you all think. Sometimes I think I have a good idea. In this case, I honestly am not sure. So let's see what happens. Over the super chats, DH says, and good for Simone for standing up for herself and being a leader by shining a light on self-care. I agree. If this week is going to have a self-care and mental wellness champion, I'd prefer it be Simone Biles over Meghan McCain's thing yesterday. So let's see. We should have done a poll on that. Anyway, Franklin Sharpslicer says, finally the open spigot reveals the group being openly bigots, no matter how it twistas their racist brothers and sisters. Jesus, may they sit in fumes and vapors and only have scratchy toilet papers.
Hey, we love bars, bars on bars on. Drake would be proud.
Jeez. Amber Smith says, support water protectors by stopline3.org. Thank you. Important people stay focused on that. Birdie the Kiwi Dragon says, hi, John and Jason. The mean criticism is similar to what the England team had to endure when they lost the Euro Cup finals, but each of these athletes can easily best any of us. Agreed.
Yep.
And May Money to Building says, Jason, I love your energy. Hey, John, unfortunately, I'm not watching the Olympics because of the soul cap situation. As a dope black swimmer, I can't. Sad. I get it. And look, there's other reasons people are protesting it too. I understand. Okay, so with that, I think it's time. Why don't we jump back into another story? Everyone is waiting to find out what's gonna drop when it comes to Matt Gaetz. And while we're waiting, what has dropped are some TikTok videos. In fact, from apparently the sister of his fiance. So this is Roxanne Lucky, who is sister to Ginger Lucky, the still fiance of Matt Gaetz, as he's potentially facing charges for sex trafficking and possibly pedophilia. So she had quite a bit to say about her experiences with Matt Gaetz and other people Matt Gaetz had talked to about her. I'm gonna let her explain it in this video.
I also want to clarify that this is a very long story that I'm going to have to sum up very quickly. And I also want to put it out there that this is from my point of view. There's two sides to every story, and I acknowledge that, but this is what I experienced. So last summer when I was living in DC and interning there, basically Matt had just started dating my sister, and he had a friend that I had met and kind of knew that was around Matt's age, like had a kid, had been divorced, and this guy kept telling me like, oh, Matt told me I should ask you out, like that we'd be great together, yada yada, and I would just make jokes and be like, haha, like I'm 19, like that's weird. And I just thought he was kind of joking, and then he definitely like started being more vocal and saying creepy things and being like, I had a boyfriend at the time. He's like, oh, when you break up with your boyfriend, let me know, and so you can have a real man, just creepy stuff. And he later like texted me and was like, oh, sorry about what I said. I just wanted to get Matt off my back. Like Matt told me I should ask you out, yada, yada, yada. So I decided to confront Matt about it and be like, hey, why were you telling your friend to ask me out, and like be like, that's just weird and creepy. So come Thanksgiving, when I finally had the chance to see him face to face, I was straight up with him. And I was like, what is up with this? Why did your friend say this? Very much was like, wanted to hear his side of the story. And he just immediately got so defensive, started yelling at me and my mom. He called me a narcissist, was just 1,000% gaslighting me. I literally was just like standing there asking him, like, are you going to listen to what I have to say? And he went full lawyer on me. Like, I don't have to listen to you. I don't have to answer your questions, whatever.
Wow.
So she went on to call him creepy and a literal pedophile, although she then finessed it to the ephebophile or whatever term they use to segment out types of pedophiles or whatever. But she has more that we'll get to. Jason, what'd you think about? She's spent time with him and apparently guys he knows.
Yeah, God, I love flippant sister-in-law story time. I love it. I mean, it's so good. And God bless Gen Z. God bless these kids for taking to TikTok, the tick of the talk, to really let people have it. Her and Claudia Conway are probably best friends, kikiing, just giving all the tea of what goes on in their dysfunctional household. But where there's smoke, there's fire. And of course, I love how she said Matt Gaetz went all full lawyer on me, trying to gaslight me. Good for you using the word gaslighting. Again, the kids know what's up.
They do.
But where there's smoke, there's fire. And if you listen to all of it, there's nuance there. There isn't it would be different if she was trying to make this up as she went along. And it's really hard to piece together a story like that as nuanced as what she's saying. So of course, I mean, and more, this is very serious, what she's saying, at least for her. This has affected her in some way, shape, or form. But she's not Roxanne's now 20 years old. She's a young woman who's like, this is what's going on, you guys. This is what's happened. And she's been around him enough to also highlight different accounts of what she called, in her own words, creepiness. So, and TikTok, man, once it's on TikTok, God help you.
Yeah,
once it starts going
that's
viral,
true. And
TikTok.
look, yeah, and like nothing that she is saying about him, is on the level of like the stuff he's being accused of. It's not illegal. It's just
creepy.
Like, if she was interested in dating roughly 40-year-old friends of congressmen, then she could do that. She's 18 or whatever. She's working on Capitol Hill. But like when you're sending them to go to her, that seems a little bit worse. Again, not illegal like the other things he's being accused of, but she's spent time with him. She knows his relationship with her sister. So it's a bit of a personal view into it. She's not specifically alleging illegal acts, and nothing that she says there we can confirm 100%. Although her social media from the time after last Thanksgiving does confirm that she had some sort of conversation, like she had posts about that. But anyway, I wanted to give you a response from some of the people involved in the story. Ginger Lucky, the fiance of Matt Gaetz, her sister says, Matt and I are enjoying our engagement and are deeply in love. My estranged sister is mentally unwell. She has been in therapy for years, and our family hopes that after receiving inpatient mental health treatment, she will overcome the tendency she has repeatedly shown to engage in destructive behavior. I don't know to what extent, if at all, that is true.
Yeah, and how, John, that's really crappy. I mean, look, of course, the family's going to try to discredit. I wonder what the conversation is at the dinner table with those two sisters. But to
get worse.
Yeah, and to say that, she's mentally unstable, and to really paint people who are suffering with mental health issues as unstable, erratic, violent, even that's a low blow. Again, all of this is alleged. All this is alleged.
Totally.
We don't know what is truth, but this is also very adjacent onto the path of of what he's being accused of, right? Hearing this doesn't sound surprising, even though it is alleged. It does not sound surprising at all. And again, as you said before, and as Roxanne said in her video, she has spent a lot of time with him, and also was privy to other environments that enter a whole different set of dynamics that still had this type of behavior occurring in, right? On the Hill, and then also personally, whatever within their home or wherever else that took place at. So I stand by, where there's smoke, there's fire. But again, this is all alleged.
It is, yes. Some people are pointing out that the Ginger Lucky statement about Roxanne would seem to violate her HIPAA rights. It doesn't, although it is definitely revealing like private information about her mental health and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's weird. Also a little bit worried that the earlier tweet from the US Olympic Committee about Simone Biles being injured might violate her HIPAA rights. Anyway, everybody needs to be more worried about violating HIPAA rights. So Roxanne Lucky didn't respond to a request for comment, and a spokesperson for Gaetz said the congressman supports his fiance and her statement.
Duh.
Wait. Okay, so yeah, I get that you will. I don't think that's what they wanted the statement on. You're the creep, man. This isn't about you're making this about your fiance? Yeah, what she did seems really bad too. But she's not a human trafficker, at least. Dude, answer for your own crimes. Don't hide behind the family drama you're causing, you creep.
Yeah, creep. Well, anyway. Hey, in the words of Roxanne Lucky, he tried to lawyer me. That's what he's doing in that statement. Lawyering, spinning, gaslighting.
1000% gaslighting. That's the name of the episode. Anyway, okay, let's move on to other news. Okay. Gonna be a big old change. Really creepy report coming out from the Tampa Bay Times, who looked into what the Pasco Sheriff's Office is doing as a result of letters that the Sheriff's Office sent out to some people living in the area. We're gonna show you a bit of the letter. Let's bring it up, and I'm gonna read little sections. So it starts off, greetings. We are pleased to inform you that you have been selected to participate in a prolific offender program run by the Sheriff's Office. The program provides you with an opportunity to receive assistance from the Sheriff's Office, who will work to help you identify and overcome barriers that have hindered you in your life's journey. So they talk about some of the things that might make life more difficult. They say, you may wonder why you were enrolled in this program. You were selected as a result of an evaluation of your recent criminal behavior using an unbiased, evidence-based risk assessment overseen by Tom Cruise, designed to identify prolific offenders in your community. If you refrain from criminal activity over the next 2 years, your prolific offender designation will be removed, and those creepy cyber cops will stop stalking your every move. So, this is what they're doing. They have some sort of like algorithm that is hoping to screw the people of Pasco over worse than the algorithm screws us over on YouTube every day. They have these lists. So Tampa Bay Times has looked into it. They say the Sheriff's Office creates lists. It considers likely to break the law based on criminal history, social networks, and other unspecified intelligence. The agency sends deputies to their homes, not just the letters. They send people to them, often without a search warrant or probable cause. This is just pre-crime. That's all it is. Stuff, and based on your tweet,
John, and Minority Report down. Tom Cruise, yes, you took the words right out of my mouth. I want to be one of the twins in the movie. Yeah, what? And of course, it's happening in Tampa, home of the strip mall. Like, what great? Oh, no, I do apologize. The Buccaneers did win the Super Bowl this year. Okay, my bad.
That's true.
But they did win the Super Bowl. This is creepy. Like you all of a sudden you come home, you go to your mailbox. No, back in 2013, you had a 520 credit score, and you also didn't pay for the extra guac at Chipotle. You know, like, and then it's all of a sudden now you're being surveilled. You know, there's a black van across the street that's there for days watching.
They're showing up at your house, and look. It's not like I'm gonna try to play devil's advocate because I don't know, my mind works that way. Like if you tweet, I'm gonna kill the senator. Okay, there should be an investigation of that probably to some extent. That happens. That the FBI watches out for things like that. Cops watch out for things like that. That is not what is going on here. This is taking like demographic data and extrapolating that you're likely to commit some crime. I don't know what. But something, and the stuff that's in the letter is bad enough, but I want you to know about one other thing that the Tampa Bay Times has found. So they found that the agency has a separate program that uses school children's grades, attendance records, and abuse histories to label them potential future criminals. So if they didn't show up to class, or if they've been abused, well, I don't know what crime they're gonna commit, but it's definitely gonna be something. So I want the cops to be on the lookout for these tiny little pre-criminals they're at recess right now, but they're gonna be in the thick of the crime someday. This is so unacceptable. Don't you, Jason, I'm gonna get out in front of this. Don't you dare imply that they have too much time on their hands, too much resources on their hands. They need every dollar so they can create a big pool of milk and they can get some creepy twins to put in there and figure out what these little kids are gonna do someday.
Little Timmy, him failing math, him missing, not thinking 2 + 2 = 5 is going to be the end of his life as we know. Hell, then if this is the case, my ass should have been on death row years ago because I was terrible in school. I ditched every day, and I may have stolen a Snickers once upon a time from 7-Eleven. So I mean, hell, put me under the jail. Who's allowing this? What? This is dangerous. Okay, look, let's get serious, John. This is dangerous because also, okay, let's say that they're exacting this type of technology. They're using algorithms. You know, computers don't lie. They're now going to be able to manipulate the system to target only certain types of people. You know, this is I keep saying this is very Handmaid's Tale. What's happening right now is very Handmaid's Tale. Singling people out, they'll just trying to wheat trim the fat. That's what's going on with this, and it's crazy. Yeah. I know people are going to tweet me and be like, "Dude, you sound like an idiot." You know what are you talking about? But go watch The Handmaid's Tale, read the book, and everything that's transpiring outside of this, in addition to women's rights and everything that's happening. Margaret Atwood, almost 40 years ago, predicted this would happen, and it's happening. So I don't know. But poor kids, man. God, all little Sarah wanted to do was just grow up and become and work at Hooters, and now that's not going to happen.
No. And if you say that you want to someday, that gets you on the list. Anyway, yeah, it's like people are saying it's like the school to prison pipeline, but like grease it. We want to get them faster, okay? We want this to be a direct line. It's a super highway to prison. And people are talking about they're asking questions about racial motivations. I like a quick Google shows it's 94% white in Pasco, but I have no idea what I honestly don't know. But anyway, this is obviously not acceptable regardless of the motivations, and rest assured that if they can continue this, they will in other areas, and it'll be weaponized against non-white populations. Clearly, this is so unacceptable, and it's bizarre that it's not bigger news. I only know about it because I think it was Sophie. I think Sophie brought it to my attention. Insane.
It is insane.
But anyway, we do have, I think, time for one more story. Equally insane, if in a different way. So let's jump into this last one with the few minutes we have remaining. About a month ago in Buffalo, there was a shock primary win. India Walton, the first socialist to win a primary like that, to become mayor of a major city in literally decades. And it caused ripples through everything, leading some leftists to think, hey, wait, we can potentially win. We can do this. We can become mayors of cities, that's great. The ripples for some other people, not so positive. And they were affected by this seemingly, but not necessarily in a positive way, because now some in the Buffalo Common Council are studying a change to the city's form of government, which would abolish the office of mayor. So she won the primary. The actual election isn't coming up until later. But they're talking some about making it so there isn't there any for this socialist to take over. University Councilman Rashid Wyatt says Buffalo is one of the poorest cities in the country, and it has been that way for more than 40 years. Wyatt says Buffalo should look at changing its form of governance, abolishing the office of mayor in favor of a city manager who answers to and is chosen by the city council. Under such a plan, a city manager would be selected by the 9-member council to carry out the will of the council members. So that's fun, Jason. If somebody wins an election, you don't like them, just get rid of the government.
Yeah, only in Buffalo. Just kidding. Now, Buffalo does have the best sauce to put on chicken wings, though. This is dumb.
True.
This is dumb.
It is known.
It is known, and it doesn't give you sting later. Some of the people who make up these stupid laws, I don't even know what they're thinking. But much like the Minority Report precog making children criminal, criminals in the future, this could very well happen. And also, it's not okay. Look, in Buffalo, they're saying that there's been this decades-long history of a decline of the way of life there, right? From housing to the economy and everything. But it's much like the United States. Things take time to fix, right? It's not like one person's able to swoop in, and there are people who are able to come in and make vast change very quickly. But it also depends on the type of change you're trying to make. You can't hold one person accountable and say, hey, it's their fault that the city's like this. No, it's a myriad of people's different faults. And you have to be realistic with this. This is not realistic at all, because now one person's gonna speak on behalf. They're the mayor. That doesn't make any sense.
That's effectively what it would be.
Right.
Yeah. And look, there's reasons to believe that this won't happen. First of all, some members of the council or in state government are saying you can't do this. You can't just switch over to this. Even if it's gonna take 9 months or 90 days, I should say, a report looking into what that process would look like, which puts it close enough to the election day that you wouldn't be able to get the referendum on in time anyway. It doesn't mean that they couldn't do it in the future if she were to become mayor. So I'm assuming this will not happen, but this is basically, stuff like this has happened in a lot of parts of the country when Democrats have taken over as mayors and things like that, or as secretaries of state. Before they take over, the Republicans will remove the powers and responsibilities and authorities of those. That's happened in multiple states already. By the way, I tried to find any evidence that like Rashid Wyatt had been pushing for this before India Walton's win, and I was not able to find any evidence. I can't rule out that this is something he's been pushing for before. So it appears that it was driven by her win. I've tried to find evidence that is not the case, and so far it is not available. But we're gonna be waiting to see, because we've had India Walton on the show. The idea that she would lose out on this position that she earned through her work seems unacceptable.
Yeah, agreed.
Anyway, that is unfortunately all the time we have. But Jason, thank you so much as always for joining us. I know that you've got some exciting guests coming up on your show in the near future. Where can people watch for your work?
Oh, awesome, John. You can find me on Instagram at Jason Carter Official. Jason Unleashed, my daily show, is coming back. We're in season 6. We're on hiatus right now. I have some really cool guests coming up later this season. And also, if you're in South Florida, catch me on Inside South Florida every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on WSFL TV, channel 39, the CW. And John, Sophie, everyone at TYT, always a pleasure to spend some time with you guys here and talk the news.
Thank you so much. Have a good one, man.
Later, man.
Thank you to all of you for watching the show. Everyone who sent in messages and super chats. As always, there's a bunch that I can't read. We can never read all of them live, but I do read all of them. So thank you so much for showing support for the show, for the network. We're gonna be going, but Indisputable is coming up in just a few minutes with Dr. Rashad Ritchie and Adrian Lawrence. So don't go anywhere, or if you do, make it youtube.com/indisputable_TYT. And that's it for me. But until next time, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and I'll see you soon.
Welcome to Indisputable. We got a lot on the agenda today. Ladies and gentlemen, making sure we break down news of the day, none other than Adrian Lawrence, author, TYT contributor, legal analyst, an extraordinary individual. Also, in the bullpen, my debate partner will be Michael Loftus, writer and comedian, editor and chief of the LoftusParty.com. Going to be very interesting discussion about cancel culture. And it seems like he has a real problem with the fictional character Captain America. So we'll talk about that. Obviously very important to him. Ladies and gentlemen, there's an Atlanta police officer who kicked a mentally ill woman in the head while she was handcuffed because he's a piece of shh. That's why it happened. Here's the video. Okay, we're bringing that video up. Give us a second. There we have it. Okay, let me give you some background to this. So there was a 911 call of a woman with a gun. There was no woman with a gun, by the way, but according to the narrative, there was a 911 call. Officers responded and they realized quickly this was a call for a mental health emergency. The woman was handcuffed and they were waiting on the emergency care workers to arrive. The woman, according to the report from APD, she did spit on the officer's boot, which caused the officer, can we bring that video back, to do this? There's a whole lot I want to say about this cop that I'm not allowed to say because of the language restrictions on the show. But holler at me after the show and I will tell you exactly how I feel. This woman was going through a mental health crisis. Her aunt says her name is Ashley. The officers involved, one is a sergeant. The man you see kicking her is a sergeant. That means he has rank, he has authority, and he has likely been on the force for a while. The lower rank officer did absolutely nothing. So you have a black male, a black female. Black female does nothing, she does not flinch. What happened to the good cops? There's another white male approaching, a white male cop. They don't do anything, they don't report this guy, nothing comes out of it. So now he has been relieved of duty pending an investigation. He has not been fired, he has not been arrested. He is relieved of duty pending an investigation. That is part of his due process. He's going to get that. The government will not be able to take away his rights, even though he took away the rights of this particular woman by physically violating her, a true deprivation. Now, here's the issue. You have multiple problems here. Obviously, the fact that they were well aware that this woman was suffering a mental health crisis. You can't make the argument they weren't aware or they didn't have the training. You can't make that argument. They knew. They knew why she was there. They knew why an ambulance was on the way. And this man still kicked her. And then the woman, the officer, under the tutelage of this sergeant, she doesn't flinch because it's part of the culture. It's everyday business for them. Nobody stood up for this woman, but one person standing in that apartment complex recording. At the end of that recording, that witness said she went to that police officer and said, "Why did you do this? Why did you kick her?" Police officer lied and said, "Oh, I didn't kick anybody." He didn't realize he had been recorded. The witness also said that wasn't the first time she was kicked. She was kicked the first time as she rolled down the hill. The kick that you see on video is actually the second kick, according to the witness. Adrian, do you see a crime here?
Oh, without question. This is very much a battery for what this officer did. And the thing that really got me is when I initially saw it, I automatically thought, had it not been recorded, this officer would have denied it. So now having you essentially confirm that with the story of the woman who was recording him confronting the officer about it, it's just these officers are so used to being able to operate with impunity, to be able to assault us, to infringe upon our rights, to plant evidence. All of these things that they have gotten away with for so very long. And this sergeant's behavior shows that they are not used to actually being held accountable for there to be documentation. They have been able to lie, to test a lie, to do it all with impunity. And this time it did not work. And this is indeed a crime. And I do not know why charges have not been brought against this man yet. It's great that he's been relieved of his duty, and however that ends up playing out against him in the administrative role, perfectly fine, go ahead, go with that. But let's talk about the criminal role here, because what he did to that woman was without question a crime.
Absolutely. Now, remember, you have multiple races involved. You have multiple genders involved. That blue seems to trump all of that because none of them stood up for the victim in this case. The second lower ranked officer standing nearby, she was also placed on administrative leave Monday, the day authorities became aware of the incident, reports the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. This is a statement from the Atlanta police. They say, upon reviewing the video, the actions of the sergeant appear to be unacceptable. And we are also concerned with the apparent lack of reaction from another officer present during the incident. So here's what I want to say. People support the police. Watch this. If APD locks his ass up, I promise you the people will support the APD for doing so. That's called supporting the police. It is about what level of accountability are you willing to exhibit on behalf of the community that you are sworn to protect and serve. The APD use of force policy states, this is their actual policy. It states, the Atlanta Police Department recognizes and respects the value of human life and the right of people to be secure in their persons and property. Sworn employees who are in the performance of their duties encounter situations where the use of force reasonably appears necessary to effect an arrest or detention, overcome resistance, control a subject, or protect themselves or others from injury or death, will only use that force which is reasonable and necessary in order to accomplish lawful objectives. That is the policy. There was no threat. There was no attempted apprehension. None of this happened. The woman was handcuffed on her stomach, waiting on transport to Grady Hospital for her mental health issue. The family confirmed that she was on medication. She was off of her medication, which caused the mental health episode. Reports indicate no charges ended up being filed against the handcuffed woman, who officers requested to be taken to an area hospital for a mental health evaluation. A damn shame. So at this point, here's what I'm saying, because in the city of Atlanta, Adrian, literally they just passed a new rule that said all officers have a duty to intervene when they see something like this happen. So that's why the officer who was watching this is now on suspension as well, right? So you have a duty to intervene rule. I think it should be a statute. I think it should be an actual law, because that's how you start changing the culture. It's not just because bad people do bad things. It's because people that call themselves good sit back and do nothing.
Absolutely, they have enjoyed being able to just look the other way and to say they didn't see it or to claim it didn't happen. And now that has been taken away from them. And so there will actually be accountability. But you're absolutely right, to have that rule be enforced in a legal way would be hopefully very much an affecting change, because the fact is that so many people are sitting by, like you said, those good apples are letting the bad apples rue the day. And if people do not speak up, step up, and if by putting their jobs also on the line so that they're tethered to the bad apples, that is when you're gonna see more change. We just need enforcement of that rule outside of the context of other citizens needing to record and film.
Yeah, And here's the other part of that, and that's very well said. The other part of that is, if you are a good cop, if you call yourself a good cop, and you do nothing while bad cops define your profession, whatever stigma is connected to your industry, you deserve it.
Yep.
Because you failed to say a damn thing when they were violating the rights of our brothers and our sisters, fellow citizens, humanity. What job? There's no job on the planet that will cause me to sell out my very soul. I promise you this, Adrian, if that woman who's a cop, if she would not have had that uniform on and she saw a man kick a woman on the ground like that, she would have said, oh my God, I can't believe that. That's horrible. If this black officer did not have the context of that uniform and he saw somebody manhandle his mama like that, I promise you he would be appalled. But in the context of that damn uniform, all of a sudden your ethics become situational. Your morality becomes massaged. It doesn't make sense to sell out who you are, your soul, if you have one, in order to have a job like that. I don't want that job.
Yeah.
All right, shifting gears, General Michael Flynn. In May, he joked about taking over the government. He said, oh, just a joke. Now he's talking about committing assassination. Let's just go to the video first.
Tell us about your gift.
So we were trying to come up with a rifle that we thought was appropriate for a general. So we went with the old school woodland camouflage. So anyhow, this is one of our top quality guns. And
maybe I'll find somebody in Washington, D.C.
He's technically a felon with a gun, but because of the pardon thing, he's not a felon anymore, but he really is in spirit. So Flynn, the former national security advisor, pardoned by Donald Trump for lying about his Russia contacts, made the jaw-dropping remark after he was gifted the gun at the, get it now, the Church of Glad Tidings. This is in California. The church members roared with laughter and clapped when Flynn suggested hunting humans in the nation's capital. Oh, that is just so funny. You're talking about committing assassination, General. I mean, you are, by the way, a trained killer. And he makes this supposed joke. Everybody in the church, they laugh. Remember, last year, Flynn retweeted a call for Trump to keep the White House by force and reportedly urged Trump to use the Insurrection Act to declare martial law to stay in power. So you may be wondering, well, my goodness, what kind of church is this? They're gifting people AR-15s. They are applauding proclamations about killing political leaders in the United States of America. Well, I did some research on this church. You can find more information at Church of Glad Tidings website. But here's what they say. This is part of what we believe, okay? Here's what they believe. We continually cultivate Christ-honoring roles and conduct in all relationships, marriage, neighbors, family, church family, workplace. We gear much of our emphasis toward the youth and children. Our kids are a top priority. We love to have fun, lots of it, and value hospitality and genuine friendships. We believe that God has called us to significance and influence in our generation. We value people like you. The hell are they talking about? Adrian, what are your thoughts here?
Well, I can tell you what they were talking about. They were talking about enjoying that tax benefit that goes to churches. These people are out here speaking all of this nonsense when they're really here for the mayhem, the insurrectionists. Michael Flynn, it really shows you who these people are. This person is supposed to be a leader in our nation, but really, no, it doesn't represent democracy. Also, this person's ideologies are not good for the nation, yet they continue to be revered. And as we see this church purport to honor him with this weapon, it just makes you even more concerned. The fact that him saying, "Oh, I need to find someone in Washington," I don't know if he is implicitly speaking about now retired Judge Emmett Sullivan, or if he's talking about someone else. But what he is talking about is something that should not be spoken by someone who is in a leadership position in our nation or has authority and power. Yet everybody who seems to come out of the Trump administration seems to be pretty good when it comes to just undemocratic, insurrectionist, treasonous behavior.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I mean, this guy literally betrayed the United States of America. Not only did he lie during an investigative probe, I mean, he actually represented interest of a foreign entity while serving in an official capacity with the United States government and lied about it. I mean, he's going to be who he is as a former military general forever. I mean, he's that guy. So you have a lot of people calling for him to be officially recalled to duty so he can be court-martialed, which, by the way, is a power that the United States military has, especially with individuals of his high rank. This is a person, Adrian, and this is the context that really scares me, it frightens me. This is a person who really kind of flew beneath the radar as far as his white supremacy is concerned until Trump brought him out. But still, he believed this all the way through. He was always this person. So we literally had him in power, in authority, obtaining top secret information, being a person that holds these deep rooted racial and racist sentiment. And listen, the guy is anti-American. He's literally anti-American. So how is it that people like Flynn and others who are obviously anti-American, they are anti-democracy, they are anti-constitution, they continue to retain a narrative of being a patriot?
Well, I would arguably say that they are very pro-American because they're very pro-white male at any cost. And that is who Flynn is, in addition to Trump. And so as much as we think he flew under the radar, to our knowledge, oh no, the white supremacists in power knew exactly who he was, which is why they called him up and put him in a position of authority and power even greater than what he had in the military. And you're absolutely right about calling him up for court-martialing. That is a power that could be exercised with a lot of the people in January 6th for the insurrectionists, as well as Flynn. Why it has not been done is something that is just beyond me unless I look at the history of our nation and its inability and unwillingness, oftentimes, too often, to hold white men of privilege and power accountable for their criminality and their misconduct.
Yeah, and you make a heck of a point, because we have a black man in charge now. He's the first. And he said we have to root out white supremacy in our ranks. Well, let's start with video from January 6th.
There you go.
Make an example, do the thing y'all do, hold a press conference, scare the hell out of everybody else. You've done it for all kind of people in this country. I've seen prosecutors say it. They've literally done press conferences and said, we will make an example out of people like this and prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law. But all of a sudden, to these terrorists, to the insurrectionists, nobody wants to use that language against them. Not even the people prosecuting them. Yeah, quite baffling, but not, right? All right, we got more on the other side. Stick and stay is indisputable.
Cenk Uygur is not here today, which means that I will be able to talk during the show.
We'll see.
Poor Cenk, under the bus.
My God, if Jesus came back, how much would the Republicans hate him? So now you have to give away all of your possessions to the poor. Steve King would be like, oh, Weezy. Everyone should be lucky enough to have a John Iadarola in their life.
You confused everyone?
Okay, sorry, I thought it was pretty clear.
Take a break now.
You can turn me to Dr. Manhattan as long as I get what Dr. Manhattan's packing, okay?
The liberal mom says, Mark Thompson, have you ever thought about doing one of those tapes that soothe people to sleep? Like Mark Thompson reads the phone book. I'd buy it.
If you'll buy it, I'll do it.
Emilio D'Amelio writes in, John, you are so thick. I love you. That's what he wrote.
Pork Chop Express writes in and says John Iadarola needs a new jacket.
Whoa.
Those 24-inch pythons are about to burst out of his sleeve.
Gun, baby. You know, the two people here said that their moms were both in love with you over Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm. That's an improvement. I usually get grandmothers.
Charlie Turk.
No, wait a minute, don't you dare.
Chemical castration when we return from the break.
I hope that, who they choose for the White House isn't just a borderline Klansman. That's all we gotta hope.
That's it, we will settle it.
She's cute. I didn't say that about Laura Ingraham.
Scandal at TYT. Did Anna comment on my tan yet? No, she hasn't.
You're a good bosser.
But Anna did say that I come in here today with a fresh mind. That's all I'm about. I'm about a fresh mind.
I can't with you right now. Okay?
She just can't. She can't, but nonetheless, we have to for another 3 hours. I'm back, baby. Let's rip into Republicans. See, don't miss the live show. That's great. Tell people, if you're a member, you get the whole live show whenever you want, because this stuff doesn't go into any of the clips.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Iadarola. This is gonna be a big one. Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
What's happening? I'm Dr. Rashad Richey, host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. Here's the bottom line. I play no games about policy, period. Too many people's lives are at stake. So here's what I do. I challenge conservative ideology that hinders the growth of this country. I make sure we place our facts in proper context, and I have no problem debating anyone on a position that I have. Progressives have the ideas to change the world, but when you really look at it, progressives have always changed this world for the better. I want you to tune into my new show, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey, right here on the TYT network, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. I'll see you there.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change.
Welcome back to Indisputable. We got a lot of viewer comments. Let's get to it. TYT member LMG15 says, "Love your book, Adrian." Heart. Good stuff.
Very nice. Thank you.
Biden flavor corn pop. I love that name, by the way. We need to find Corn Pop and give him a government job. Correct, Adrian. We see all this now with technological advancements and must realize how long all police forces have been bodyguards, torturers, hitmen for a few wealthy bullies with a white supremacy complex. Yeah. Next TYT reporter says, neither one of those officers responded to him kicking her. Bad apples my butt. This is a systemic problem. Exactly. Greyhound Dragon says, what happened to that commandment, thou shalt not kill? Talking about the whole church laughing at Flynn killing people. And let me just pause on that for a moment. Because think about it. What if Flynn would have made a joke about cheating on his wife, committing adultery or fornication? No, that probably would not have been laughed at. Not this way. But if he talks about killing people, laugh it up. YouTube super chat. Matt Silver says, if churches are political, then they should be taxed. Exactly. Laura Estrada, so true and so terrifying, Dr. Richie. Flynn's are the real boogeymans out there. That's right. Carrie, thank you, thank you, thank you. Shamira Hill, love you and your show, Dr. Richie, from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Keep doing you. And I'm sending hearts back to you. Thank you for that. CBBU. Doesn't matter if she was having a mental crisis or not. A man doesn't kick a woman in the head when she was down on the ground. Wonder if he has daughters and how he treats them when they misbehave. Very good point. And it really doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter if it was a male or female in that position under the authority of law enforcement. You do not get a kick to the head. David Morris, I've been in cuffs before. I can confirm that you're incapacitated when you're in cuffs and therefore no threat. Agreed. Twitch, Pondering Dragon says, police are supposed to control a situation, not enact punishment. That's right. That's your deprivation of rights right there. This is not Judge Dredd. But is it? It's kind of getting there. Qualified immunity and all, right? Yaron Gates says, what would that officer do if another cop did that to his mom? He would be upset, mad, have righteous indignation. But all the while, he's the walking hypocrite. Let's see, Buck Dragon. Pentagon needs to snatch him up and court-martial him, talking about Flynn. They don't even need to reinstate him to do it. All right, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You wanna call the police on him for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free, back off! I'm gonna tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life. Not the law.
Yes, no, that's disrespectful though. I asked her to step away from my son.
Side with her, what to do? Because that's what it's crazy.
No, it's not. When you just told her to go back to the country,
on your hand,
how does that make sense?
Mama,
she does. Why is she so mad at me?
That's a flush. But just told her.
No, she's not. You told her to go back to her country. What are you talking about?
Because she's coming for us like a handcuff, whatever that thing is. And
hey, you don't gotta talk like that though.
She's not telling you. I know.
She didn't tell you anything. She just said stay away from her son. That's all she said.
She's asking you to give her son doesn't even have a mask. Well, you know what? You're not telling anybody else. So get over yourself.
There's more. There's more. This one actually has a pretty good ending. Now, in this viral TikTok video, a Muslim woman captures a Karen who criticized her hijab while in line. This was at a Santa Monica grocery store. The Karen also refused to keep 6 feet away from the woman's son, okay, from her son. According to the TikToker, this all began when Karen had asked if she was in line and rolled her eyes at the TikToker. Karen then allegedly attempted to place her items on the conveyor belt despite being behind the TikToker in line. That's one thing you don't want to do. Now, here's where employees joined by customers backing up the Muslim woman who is being criticized by this Karen.
No, the whole point is that you have to be 6 feet away, and then you want to be racist.
Stop. You're just being crazy.
No, we're not. No, you're being the crazy one right here.
Don't talk to her like that. Yeah, don't be talking to her like that. No, you know what? You go get over yourself. Yeah, don't be talking to her like that.
Excuse me, can I ask you why you hate me?
I don't care.
Just because I'm wearing a headscarf?
That's what you wanted, huh? What else do I need to do? I mean, what? I'm not doing anything wrong here.
No, I'm actually...
I'm not doing anything wrong here. It's just a listener who thinks she's privileged.
Talk to her like that, though. I don't know why you hate me. I didn't do anything.
Wait. Don't talk to people like that.
Wait.
I'm trying to protect the female.
No, he's defending what's right. But do you hear what she's saying? She's being racist. She's being racist.
I'm not gonna say anything.
You're racially profiling them. You're racially profiling.
So what we gonna do is
Thank you.
The woman was very emotional. She was distraught. I'm talking about the victim here. But it does have a good ending. And here's what happened. At the end of that, not only did employees step up, customers stepped up. She was walked to her car by a couple. Her and her son were walked to their car to make sure they were safe. Once again, the common default of all these Karens, go back to where you came from. Go back to your country, criticizing their cultural expression that may be different than theirs. Why? Because she could not put this woman in her place. That's what it all comes back to. You're not doing what I tell you to do. How dare you make any comment to me about me, period. That's what this is. Big ups to the black female who started the whole let's protect this woman movement. The black female who was just walking by, she was minding her own business, and she heard this Karen going off on this woman in front of her son, and she says, don't you talk to that woman like that? And the way she said it, I'll be honest with you, it kind of reminded me of my auntie. The way she said it, she said, don't you talk to that woman like that? See, the reason why that's important in this narrative, it usually only takes one person to say something like that, which is the spark. And other people, their light is able to shine as well. And what you saw, ladies and gentlemen, was a woman full of darkness surrounded by people who were full of light. And I would dare to say that many times that's the reality. You are literally around a lot of people who are full of light, but are they willing to let that light shine, to let that morality, that ethics shine in that moment? Adrian, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, you definitely kind of swung in and made the observation that I was gonna hit on. The fact is that it's a black woman who steps up, who regulates the behavior and says this is unacceptable and sticks her neck out. And that's often the case I've seen in public interactions, that it is a black woman who comes forward and is the first person to say, no, this is unacceptable, leave that person alone, to stand up, to defend. But then of course it makes me wonder if the roles were flipped, if this woman, this TikToker were black, who would step up, who would speak up? And so I think we need more people to come forward and to be using their voices, because it can't always fall on black women. And at the same time, as a black woman, we're often left out in the cold when it comes to needing people to defend us. And so I just think it's a very powerful thing. And I'm really, really glad that this happened in terms of these people rallying and stepping up, but we need that more consistently across the board.
One of the things we notice routinely with the Karens across this country is that their entitlement isn't just entitlement, all right? If it was just entitlement, if they were just being brats, maybe they don't make the I wish a Karen would segment. But they always go to a racist default. Go back to your country. They have to criticize their culture or their religion of faith, criticize them for their race. Why do you think this is the default setting of these Karens in the middle of conflict?
The xenophobia, racism, that intersection with sexism. It's a very just common thing of creating that us-them narrative. It's something that people can reinforce, because oftentimes people, they'll shy away sometimes from saying something as overtly racist as the N-word or other racist tropes. But what they'll like to go to is creating this whole nationalistic us-them narrative of pushing, go somewhere else, go back from where you came from, because it feels a little more acceptable than going straight for some kind of racist epithet.
Yeah, very well said. Speaking of sexism, there's a reporter that I must highlight, because this woman kept her cool in the middle of sexual harassment. I bring this up, Adrian, because you have a book that talks about some of this stuff, and you know it from a legal as well as professional context. Brianna Hamblin, a reporter for Spectrum One News, or Spectrum News One. This is in New York, Rochester, New York. Shared an incident on Twitter, which a couple of pedestrians sexually harassed her as she was trying to do her job, and just happened to be recording. Here's the video.
I'm not on yet.
Okay, thank you. We don't want to.
Yeah, we're not on.
Nice.
20 seconds.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
marvelous. Hell.
Thank you.
God damn. I better not be on camera. But why are you over here on camera though?
Watch Spectrum News. You can find out. Go find a TV and watch Spectrum News. You can find out.
For what reason?
Watch the news and you can find out.
We're gonna watch it. Is this channel 8?
This is channel 9 and 1 usually, 1 and 9.
So I gotta get on. See, that's why I can't be left alone with a black woman or a mulatto. Because I can't stand these f***ing white
We are
girls.
done here.
And please forgive us.
Have a great rest of your day.
You are sexy as f***. I don't know how you think that. Sexy. I want to make a wife.
Oh my God.
Naturally, it's one thing to compliment a woman. It's another thing to harass her. This was harassment. Now, Hamblin did not immediately respond to a request for comment, but on Twitter, the reporter said there were a lot of things wrong with this. Being hit on and harassed as a woman, especially as a woman reporter out in the field, happens so often, you learn how to roll with it or ignore it. Hamblin said in a Twitter thread, this time it happened to be recorded only seconds before my hit. Ms. Hamblin had more to say on Twitter. Brianna Hamblin said, if you don't want to be on camera, simply avoid it or ask nicely to not be on camera. Don't walk towards it or make a scene. Who said this was about you? Oh, men these days just can't give compliments. No, the first man's "you look nice" as he continued to walk away is fine. It's the second man who took this to another disgusting level it didn't need to be. The audacity of the things men say to me never ceases to amaze me. What makes you think women want to be talked to that way? In no way is this endearing. It's uncomfortable. It's gross. And I agree. She has more to say. Being a black woman in this industry has its own headaches. But talking down on one group of women to praise another is never okay. It just shows you have a disgusting fetish based on stereotypes, which is just as racist. This is your expertise, really, Adrian, and give us some context here.
Yeah, so when it comes to sexual harassment, and this is exactly what I wrote on in Staying in the Game, because this is a form of workplace sexual harassment in terms of she was just trying to do her job, and yet she was subjected to essentially put downs and come-ons, those two basic types of sexual harassment. And the thing is it's not flattering. It's meant to be intimidating, to make you feel and play small, to make you a little uncomfortable. Those men knew exactly what they were doing, and the response that they were getting out of her, which was one of discomfort, which you could see on her face. Because we have to realize that sexual harassment's a power play. It's not in any way about flirtation or sex or anything attraction wise. No, this is about control. This is about dominance. This is about assertiveness. This is you're doing your job. I see you doing your job. And now I'm going to control your emotions and I'm going to make sure you feel small in how you do it. And the thing is, it can happen to men. It often happens to women, but you have to be ready and prepared for it in the workplace environment or in your performing your duties, because it could end up costing you your economic independence and ability to support yourself.
Adrian, you said that so well. You also talk about ways to handle, ways to deal with this kind of harassment. What would you say about how she handled this harassment?
Oh, I think she handled it well. The thing is, the way to handle it depends on essentially each individual and their level of comfort and also the circumstances in which they're in. I'm sure, like most women, she feared some kind of physical repercussion, but also knowing that she's about to do her job. So she knows she's going to do this hit. So she's trying to balance, do I want to jeopardize my professional career by letting these guys know the score, or possibly even my physical safety if I were to speak up? And so these things that you're balancing in the moment means that essentially there is no exact wrong answer, but one thing I lay out in my book, Staying in the Game, is all of the options that you have and the typical way that they are responded to depending on those circumstances.
Amazing. When she said this happens so often, right? I was thinking, because I work for a local news affiliate as their political analyst. We have to set up shots all the time, outside of City Hall, outside of a proceeding, whatever I may be covering. That's an added distraction before you go on live TV. That's just, it is unbelievable, but believable that this is an added burden that typically men will not face in that industry, at least not to the degree of women in that same industry. Once again, there you have it. Unfair outcome because of unfair treatment. Okay, we got more on the other side. Stick and stay is indisputable.
Well, the Young Turks, the Friday show is gonna be awesome. We're gonna help us over here. Drop it.
We became the first ever daily online web television show.
No, the Constitution is the very core of America. The fact that we don't spy on American citizens, that we get a warrant, that we go to a judge, that we have a procedure, that we have due process, that is America.
On top of it, they go, why don't they just stay at their own schools? You gotta realize something. These schools suck. They want people to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. You ain't got no straps, you ain't got no boots.
He lit these fires in trash bins all around town out of frustration.
99th most viewed channel today on YouTube.
The Shorties Award.
Best web host.
We passed 1 billion views. Voice Award winner, News and Information Channel, The Young Turks. Oh, another Webby.
The Young Turks.
Can I curse? Yeah! For those of you watching on live stream, yes, we have adopted a pet iguana that showed up at our door.
Haunted version in the dark with our silhouettes.
Now let's get to the best line of the debate. It was definitely the one against Fox. I told you we were coming.
When you talk about it when it becomes a problem. Our lack of gun control is a problem.
Nonsense BS story is hurting that cause, and they need to wake up and recognize that they are being had by these people.
Biggest gang in America. Question is, how do we make sure that we blame the person who is dead? What kind of democracy is that?
We should never forget that the most powerful people in the world exploited the greatest tragedy in American history to go to war in a country that had a lot of oil.
Rolling thunder. That's what this show is.
Never in my life did I think I would like to see a dictator. But if there's going to be one, I want it to be Trump.
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
Where's the line? We've crossed every line you can imagine.
We are a socialist country. It's socialism for the rich.
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
You don't have to know the truth, just believe what they tell you.
There is no bounds to their monstrous hypocrisy. Tick-tock. I think we're gonna win the Senate in 2020. And I think we're gonna have the House, and I think we're gonna have the presidency. Tick-tock. And in 2020, we're going to clean your clock, and we're gonna run you out of town, and we're gonna have an actual democracy in this country. November of 2020 could also be potentially the greatest day of our lives. Let us whisper of a dream.
Smacked it back that I like. Say hi to the camera.
I don't like this.
Welcome back to Indisputable. We got a lot of viewer comments. Let's get to it. All right, TYT member, Bodega Boy One Done. We need to pay attention to this sexual harassment. It comes from the same school of thought as these racist, sexist people pull from to oppress all of us. Expose these people and stand against them. And we shall do that, always. YouTube, super chat. Peter says, what is it about this culture that cameras do not affect a person's thought process, that what they may be doing is wrong / illegal? Yeah. Jay Miller, thank you for that, Jay Miller. Tiger says, hey, Dr. Richard, thanks for covering that story about the Fort Wayne knife wielding Karen. I caught it late, but I really appreciate it. Pleasure. Current Karen, Omega, Shinron Dragon. Had to deal with Karen when I worked at a Ferris wheel in Toys R Us, and her kids were terrified only because of a fully covered Muslim woman sitting by them. Amber Smith, the people and the queen came to the woman's aid. Thank goodness. That's correct. Red Light Robot says, ding, clean up on aisle 3. Yeah. Twitch, Central Committee rated TYT with a party of 893. Big ups to you, thank you for that. Auntie Faye says, we study the bystander effect in psychology. It is most often marginalized people who stand up for others. Absolutely correct, I've seen those studies as well. Reporter Z Dirty Boxers. If I ever walk up on anyone talking to my daughter like that, I'm going to jail. Yeah, I feel that 100%. Okay, I got time for one more. Bama Raider 12 says, can there be another person that goes out with these reporters to protect them so they can do their job? They typically do have a camera person with them. But once again, these individuals are not trained security. And if something flies left and goes completely off the rails, there's a problem. It has happened before. Ladies and gentlemen, let me bring your attention to a sheriff, Pasco County, who has decided to send letters to residents who are not breaking the law because of some top secret intelligence gathering method he has comprised. I kid you not. Let's put up Chris Noko from Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay Times reported on this. Okay, you see that guy? You see him? Take a good look at him. Take a good look at him. Hold it, hold it. Okay, let me tell you about this clown. He sent a letter to residents, okay? Residents who have not broken the law to be arrested. Maybe they broke the law some years ago, maybe, perhaps, we don't even know. But watch how deep this gets. The letter starts with, we are pleased to inform you that you have been selected to participate in a prolific offender program. You may wonder why you were enrolled in this program. You were selected as a result of an evaluation of your recent criminal behavior using an unbiased, evidence-based risk assessment designed to identify prolific offenders in our community. As a result of this designation, we will go to great efforts to encourage change in your life through enhanced support, that means harassment, and increased accountability, that means constitutional violations. But it also delivers a stern warning. It says, and I quote, our desire to help you will not hinder us from holding you fully accountable to your choices and actions. Now remember, these letters are going to law-abiding citizens. If you've gone to jail before, you served your time, you paid your fine, whatever it is, you are now a law-abiding citizen. You come home one day, long day of work, and this letter is in the mail from the sheriff's office. Last year, a Tampa Bay Times investigation revealed that the sheriff's office creates lists of people it considers likely to break the law based on criminal histories, social networks, and other unspecified intelligence. The agency sends deputies to their homes repeatedly, often without a search warrant or probable cause for an arrest. It gets deeper. People enrolled in the program can be dropped if they remain crime-free for 2 years, according to the sheriff's letter. Officials say it is specifically aimed at people who committed violent crimes or drug offenses. Let's put that guy's picture back up again, please. Let's do that. There he is. Constitutional violating son of a. It gets deeper. The new efforts came amid a federal lawsuit filed earlier this year, challenging earlier versions of the policing program. Now, this is really ironic, part of which involved tracking school children's grades, attendance records, abuse histories to label them potential future criminals. They are tracking the damn grades of children. The sheriff's office says that the school program has been scaled back, not eliminated, but scaled back. The lawsuit seeking to end the approach, however, remains pending in a Tampa federal court. A spokesperson for the sheriff's office said the prolific offender program is completely separate from the school program. I mean, there's two different things here, okay? Once again, put his picture up. I want you to remember this clown. Okay, based on prior incidents, being named a sheriff's office target could have serious consequences. Deputies showed up at homes at all hours of the day and night, writing tickets for violations like overgrown grass and making arrests for any reason they could find. By 2020, get this, by 2020, 1,000 people had been ensnared in this program. 100 of them, about 100, were 18 years or younger. Targets and their relatives, including 4 who are now suing the sheriff's office in federal court, described the tactics as harassment and a violation of their constitutional rights. National policing experts draw comparisons to child abuse and surveillance that could be expected under an authoritarian regime. This is a damn shame. This is shredding all of your constitutional protections to privacy and everything else. These people are literally being punished by the government for not breaking the law. For not breaking the law. Adrian, you're a lawyer. You got to give me some A, B, and C of how in the hell this is even possible.
I definitely do not think this is lawful in any way. Authoritarian regime would be the right descriptor of it. The fact is that this is essentially de facto parole probation for people who have not broken the law. And you know what? The reality also is that if you are hounding people more often, yeah, you are more likely to find criminal activity. And the bigger question that I have in this Pasco County, which happens to be Mark Rubio and Rick Scott's territory, is what does it look like in terms of who's targeted? Who is on this list? What are the similarities we have? Race, class, gender, what are we looking at? We do know that in Pasco County, about over 80% are white. 13% white Hispanic, but still only about 6-7% are black. I wanna know what's the distribution look like on that list? Because I can probably tell you this harassment scheme that's going on, that it likely is attacking people who come from marginalized groups. And the sheriff's office, it should really be ashamed of itself, if not slapped with some kind of federal lawsuit from DOJ, because this is criminal to the bone.
These horrible individuals were taking the grades of children as part of their intelligence matrix. And then they literally say an unspecified intelligence, meaning this is stuff they don't want you to know about, right? This is part of the calculation they want to keep top secret, G14 classified. There's a reason why. They are operating as if they do not work for the taxpayers in that community. You're not a private corporation. You don't get to do things in secret. You are a public official. You are paid by taxpayer dollars. If this county, if these officials allow them to get away with it, it's coming to a community near you. Believe that. And really, the principle is already being used all over the country in various ways. This is likely the most egregious. But let me take you to another situation in Chicago. Different, but same principles apply. It is a violation and utilized against marginalized communities. Motherboard report finds shot spotter. You heard that right, shot spotter is altering evidence at cops' request. So let me give you some background on this. There's a court filing reviewed by Motherboard, analysts for this company called ShotSpotter. This is a surveillance system that uses hidden microphone sensors to detect gunshots in open areas. If gunshots go off, the sensors go off and alerts law enforcement, okay? Already seems quite intrusive, right? Some of these requests made by police are grasping for evidence that supports their narrative of events. So literally they are being accused of changing the data to support their narrative of a criminal action. On May 31st, I'm gonna give you some details. On May 31st, last year, 25-year-old Safarian Herring was shot in the head and dropped off at St. Bernard Hospital in Chicago by a man named Michael Williams. He died 2 days later. What a tragedy, right? Horrible tragedy. Chicago police eventually arrested the 64-year-old Williams and charged him with the murder. Williams maintains that Herring was hit by a drive-by shooting. A key piece of evidence in the case is video surveillance footage showing Williams' car stopped on the 6300 block of South Stony Island Avenue at 11:46 p.m. It's important to remember that. The time and location where police say they know Herring was shot. How did the police know this, according to them? How did they know exactly where Mr. Herring was shot? How did they know where the shooting took place? That night, 19 shot spotter sensors detected a percussive sound at 11:46 p.m. and determined the location to be 5700 South Lakeshore Drive, a mile away from the site where prosecutors say Williams committed the murder. According to a motion filed by Williams' public defender, the company's algorithms initially classified the sound as a firework. That's what it was initially identified as, a firework. That weekend had seen widespread protest in Chicago in response to George Floyd's murder, and some of those protesting lit fireworks. So the technology literally said, we're classifying this as a firework. But after the 11:46 p.m. alert came in, a shot spotter analyst manually overrode the algorithms and reclassified the sound as a gunshot to fit his narrative, to fit the case. Then months later, and after post-processing, tampering with evidence, another shot spotter analyst changed the alert's coordinates to a location on South Stony Island Drive near where Williams' car was seen on camera. They manipulated what the technology said was a gunshot. Technology said these were fireworks. They said, no, we're gonna override it and tell the system it was gunshots. Another analyst comes in at the request of the law enforcement officer or agency, and they then change the location. No, it wasn't over here. The machine got it wrong. The technology is incorrect. It was actually over here. It just happens to be where Williams was at, according to what they deemed to be true. Here are details from the shot spotter alert showing the sound was manually reclassified from a firecracker to a gunshot. Put that graphic up, there it is. It keeps the record, it shows it. The prosecutors eventually withdrew their shot spotter evidence against Williams. to avoid a Fry motion, that's your scientific basis of evidence motion. A request for the judge to examine and rule on whether a particular forensic method is scientifically valid. Motherboard discovered an unsettling pattern for this technology, currently already used in over 100 cities. That's a whole lot of tampering with evidence, and I don't see no damn body going to jail. Adrian, let me put it this way. Obviously, the cops and whoever worked with them to tamper with evidence, they should be arrested, they should be charged with the appropriate crimes. But think about it this way too. If you're manipulating technology like this, it will never be useful to prosecute people that it should prosecute. Because every time you use it now, because of what these guys have done, it can always be questioned. So it hurts all of law enforcement, even when you are appropriately prosecuting someone who deserves it. What are your thoughts?
I think it really does put into perspective who is law enforcement really looking to target, because clearly it's not necessarily people who commit crimes. And coming off of our story where we just talked about Florida saying it's using unbiased technological advancements to identify criminals when it's really honestly just feeding more potential people into its criminal justice system. In this situation here, we have something similar where we have Chicago, which has a long history of police misconduct, abuse, falsifying evidence. What it's doing is just, again, with this shot spotter thing, where it's unreliable. It's proven to not reduce gun crimes. And the thing that really gets me is that so far this year, the courts in Chicago have been weeding through falsified evidence for months in connection with the former Ida B. Wells housing project. And so far that they have dismissed over 100 cases where officers planted evidence, falsified it. And recently, I believe it was about February 9th, more individuals were exonerated after they were sentenced to prison using falsified evidence there in Chicago. The thing is we have a problem where law enforcement doesn't necessarily see that there is actually crimes, but they're out almost committing them or falsifying evidence so that they can justify their jobs and maybe enjoy reinforcing the systems that we have.
At some point, the culture of policing, to maintain or to even increase some level of trust, they have to be in the business of arresting their own. They're going to have to start doing it. It is a clear violation. If you tamper with evidence, that's against the law. If you write a false police report, that is against the law. If you kick a woman in the head while she's handcuffed, that is against the law. Both of those officers in the APD situation, they should have went ahead and arrested the man who did it. Arrest him on the scene. Let me ask you this, Adrian, because I've never seen it before. Maybe it has happened before. I have never seen a police officer arrest another police officer on the scene. Why?
Yeah, I've actually seen it once. It happened somewhat recently where an officer he got physically forceful unnecessarily with a suspect, and he was arrested on the scene. And so that was one of the rarest things I've ever seen. I've never seen it other than that one time in my life, and it was post George Floyd. The thing is, there are a lot of instances where things are not being documented or recorded, or these officers get to sit with impunity for months and months until there is possibly a civil suit, and all of a sudden the body cam footage becomes public on Twitter. But otherwise, it's not happening. It's not happening enough because we see it all the time.
Yeah, and even with clear, convincing, precise video evidence, they still have a union, they have lawyers, they have individuals that would donate money to them in the tune of hundreds of thousands. They have all of this. As soon as it is revealed, they actually violated the rights of another citizen. Adrian, always a pleasure. Tell people how they can get your great book and check you out on social media and beyond.
Thanks. You can check out Staying in the Game, the playbook for beating workplace sexual harassment. It's in the TYT store. You can also catch me on Twitter at Adrian Law and on Instagram at Adrian Lawrence.
Thank you, my sister. I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you.
All right, we got more. Stick and stay. The bullpen is next.
You know what the progressive movement needs? It needs a little energy, a little pizzazz, maybe a little caffeine. Oh, coffee. But what if it was Too Strong Coffee? Yes, new TooStrongCoffee.com/TYT. Look, this helps progressive causes. It's also organic and fair trade, so you've got peace of mind that it was done right, and it happens to taste great. So check it out right now at twostrongcoffee.com/TYT.
That 300 million is a pretty good number, Well, that's the size of the US population. You know what our next target is? The size of the entire world.
We just crossed 5 billion views on YouTube.
I mean, imagine 10 years ago thinking one day.
We looked at you like, are you nuts? Young Turks has just passed another milestone. 15 billion views.
Damn.
All right, lots of comments. You guys are the best.
I'm gonna read a few comments from our members.
Mr. Methuselah says on YouTube, super chat, thanks for all the important work you do for TYT for the movement.
Do you know who had the first super chat when I got back from vacation? You won't be surprised to find out. Rob Shively. What do you know? Rob says, rejoice for Dragon Daddy has returned.
This question sent to us by Izzy Sanchez Jr. Is it me or is Meghan McCain talking as fast as Ben Shapiro? Is that the way the right tries to look smart and intellectual? Well, yes.
Michael Nathan writes it on Twitter. Did Anna choose Cenk's outfit today? I'm sure it wasn't Cenk himself. Man Bun Jenkins Skinny Jeans says, so now Anna has pointed out, okay, that's his handle.
T. Joyce, 1971, saying Donald Trump is good at pulling out of things, NAFTA, the Iran deal, NATO. It's just too bad Fred Trump didn't.
I want you to take on the spirit of one of my sheroes, Harriet Tubman, who said these words: if you hear the dogs barking, keep going. If you see the torches in the woods, keep going. If they're shouting after you, keep going. If you want a taste of freedom, keep going. At this particular moment in time, sisters and brothers, we need somebody that is not going to flinch, somebody that's not going to equivocate when it comes to the workaday people of this nation.
You're speaking a language that voters understand, which is you're worth it. I think the key to everything is Nina Turner.
TYT has an exclusive announcement, Move On, which has chosen to endorse Nina Turner for Ohio's 11th congressional district.
We have to tell them right here in the heart.
Right.
Why we're running.
Yes.
And what we're gonna do in those spaces and places to make their lives a better place.
I think Nina can change the entire dynamic of American politics.
Because with these hands, we will rise.
Nina Turner steps into the direct fire sometimes in the name of the people.
And is that we have become numb to some of the very real challenges in this country.
Here comes Nina Turner. Here comes Nina Turner. Hope's back.
If you want clean water, clean air, clean food, keep going. If you want a better country, a better world for yourselves and future generations, you must. And if you know that we are in this fight together, you must.
Welcome back to Indisputable. We have a lot of viewer comments. I will read as many as I can. Thank you all for chiming in, all right? TYT member Mickey C. the Silver-Haired Dragon says, so the future is now. Let's start arresting those we think might commit a crime in the future. Wasn't there a sci-fi novel way back with that topic? You know what I was reminded of? That movie where they had the people that could do the cognitive thing and they were in the goo. You had, triplet. Okay, that's what I thought about. Maybe that's his undefined intelligence. He has people that can tell the future. Neo Gremlin, I still can't wrap my head around how tracking from childhood can even be legal. Aren't you supposed to get your record expunged at a certain age? How young are we talking for the tracking behaviors? Once again, we really don't know all of the details. And that's more problematic than anything else. YouTube super chat. Ben Velasquez says, sheriff must be totally feeling himself to spy over citizens. That's exactly what he's doing. Nicole Smith, just because somebody doesn't do well in school doesn't mean they're going to be a criminal. Many abused children grow up as anti-abuse activists. WTF? Yeah. About the tampering with evidence. Bitingale says tampering with evidence is a crime, but will they face any consequences for that? Well, they have not as of yet. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. This is going to be interesting. In the bullpen today, we have writer and comedian, editor-in-chief of the Loftus Party. I have Mr. Michael Loftus on the show. Michael, good day, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Good day.
All right, so you are a comedian and writer by profession, but you do take up a serious issue as it relates to cancel culture and also Captain America. So let me do this first. We get right into it on this show. I do not want to presume what you believe about cancel culture. So give us your sentiment as it relates to cancel culture in America. What is it to you?
Well, cancel culture, it used to be something that was just unpopular. And that's how I think the system's supposed to work. You do something that's wildly unpopular and hopefully less people will do it. And now it's being used as a weapon to have people deplatformed, to have voices silenced. And this cancel culture just continues to grow and grow. And then I believe it's at its worst when people somehow feel valiant and they feel good about using cancel culture to silence voices because they know what's best for the country. And I'm a firm believer in freedom of speech, more voices, more speech, and less of the canceling. Even though they're taking heroes like Captain America and turning them into weapons of propaganda.
So, Michael, you do know Captain America is not a hero. Captain America is a fictional character. Are you aware of that?
Well, here's the great thing. As a writer, like most of the best writers, you have an imagination where you could make believe as if it were real.
Okay,
and comic books,
I get what you're saying, like Jesus being white, that kind of stuff.
Well, once we hop in our time machine, we'll solve that problem once and for all. But when they start using Captain America as propaganda, that's where I get personally insulted by it. It's poor writing, it's lazy writing, and it's just completely obvious in what they're trying to do. They've got Captain America out there pimping communism, and somebody has to say something, and I guess that somebody's gonna be me.
When did they start using Captain America for political propaganda? When did that start?
I think at Captain America's very inception. Captain America has always been a political figure, and the one thing that he always relies on. Captain America may lose his faith in people and institutions and generals, but he never loses faith in the American dream. And in this latest version of Captain America, not only does he lose faith in the American dream, he describes it as a form of communism. He says, and I quote, Captain America says, "We're at our best when we keep no one out. A good dream is shared radically," and they used radically on purpose. A good dream is shared radically, shared with everyone. When something isn't shared, it becomes the American lie. That's communism. And that's not what Captain America is for. So I know they're trying to sell comic books, but I just have to call out this writer in Marvel Comics for selling propaganda, communist propaganda, which I don't think Captain America would be into.
You know, it is really interesting to hear somebody talk about Captain America like he's a real person. It's fascinating that I'm having a show about this. But obviously you think this is very important. You are at least a moderately important guy, and you have a platform. So let's get into the politicization of Captain America. Captain America was literally created as a political force. In the original comic book, he knocked out Nazis, which was a political party. So in his creation, in his development, and in his curation, he, in fact, was a political propaganda entity. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I would completely agree with that. Captain America beat up Nazis, Bugs Bunny beat up Nazis, Daffy Duck, everybody in. That's why I'm particularly offended, and it's a real head scratcher, why Captain America is now pro-communism.
Now,
when he was over there beating them up.
Explain to me, where do you get that he is, by definition of communism, pro-communism? Where do you get that from?
I'm taking the line straight from the comic book. It's a quote from the comic book. A good dream is shared radically, shared with everyone. When something isn't shared, it becomes the American lie. So no, I believe that the American dream is you can achieve anything through hard work and perseverance. And there's nothing in the American dream about sharing.
How is it that the statement you just made, communism, but let me do this first. What is your definition of communism? Do you know what it is?
Communism is when the state controls the means of production and people aren't entitled to keep the money that they've earned, and the state redistributes the wealth.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like he said any of that. Now, let me read some more context to what
it sounds like he said exactly that when he says
not to be
shared with everyone.
Yeah, he's talking about
communism is forced sharing.
Sir, the context of the conversation he's having is about what? Let me take you through this step by step. What is the context here? What is he talking about? What is actually shared?
The American dream.
The dream, there you go. So he's talking about the dream. He's talking about the American dream, which has been a literary connotation that means sharing in the prosperity of the American connection, meaning your ability to be gainfully employed or educated or be all that you can be, all that you want to be, being able to be anything you choose to be. That is the American dream, to have a piece of the American pie, to not have individuals or systems adversarial against you because of their own biases, their racism, or their bigotry. He is saying we all have to share into that idea of America. He's not talking about communism. Don't you find that to be a stretch, brother, when the entire context and subject is about the American dream?
Okay, so when he says a good dream is shared radically and it's shared with everything,
he didn't say government.
Everyone.
He didn't say government,
when
sir.
Something isn't
Communism
shared.
is a governmental structure, a structure of ecosystem of economy and politics. That's not what he said. He's talking about a dream. The context matters.
Right, so the American dream needs to be shared radically, and it needs to be shared with everyone. And when something isn't shared, it becomes the American lie. So I guess we should just let everyone into America and let them share our dream.
So let me push back on one point.
Should we share our dream with Al Qaeda and the Taliban? Should we just let everyone in to share it?
Now you're being hyperbolic. So let me push back on one of your points. It is a good thing for people to share in the American dream. When there's an individual who's an American citizen in particular, who is unable to share in that American dream, unable to do so, that American dream is an American lie to them. Do you not agree? That's a lie to them. That's an American nightmare to individuals in this country who are unable to live inside of this American dream as you proclaim. Do you not agree that that is an American lie or American nightmare to them?
No, I don't agree at all. I think the American dream is alive and well, and everyone is invited to participate. There's no such thing as the American lie.
Plenty of lies in America, plenty of them. One of the greatest lies is saying that that America is the freest country in the world. It's not that by any definition or design. We arrest more people than any other country per capita. We have more incarcerated people than any other industrialized nation. We're not the freest nation in the world. But let me go back to an earlier point that you made. So
because I'm allowed to protect my property and people get in trouble for trying to steal from me, that makes us less free?
No,
Just
sir,
because
those are the
that's
crimes
a
I'm talking
crazy
about,
logic
Michael.
jump.
Yeah, that's a crazy, no, Michael, the only crazy logic jump
that has the rule of law, that makes us less free?
Michael, the only crazy logic jump is that you decided to conclude, to assume that what I'm talking about is connected to property crime. What I'm talking about is connected to statutes and laws and ordinances that are antithetical to many in this country. There's not a person on this planet in America who has not broken the law. That's because of how the laws are written, sir. The laws are written in a way to where you cannot have human existence without actually technically breaking the law. That is a true statement.
Okay, that's fantastic. That's
but it's
fantastic.
Great. Michael, let me do this.
What
I need to go back to an earlier
just
point.
By existing.
Have you ever broke the speed limit?
No, I never have.
You're a damn lie. Have you ever not reported 1 penny on your tax return? Somebody may have given you $50, somebody cashed out you 20, and you did not report that as income. Has that ever happened to you?
Okay, so
has that ever happened to you?
We're talking
have you
about
ever not reported income?
Moving a decimal point from 50 cents to $1.
Have you ever not report? Yeah, it is a crime according to the IRS.
Okay,
you didn't know that? That's a criminal offense.
So everyone in America, we're gonna round up all the people who didn't report 50 cents.
No,
you're gonna round up all the people who went 5 miles an hour over the speed limit.
My point to you,
is that what you think our jails are full of? Do you think our prisons are full of people who violated the speeding laws?
Michael, our jails, 82% of those who are in jail currently right now in your county facility on average are there because of an underlying mental health disorder, alcohol addiction, or drug addiction, or crime of survival. That's 82% of your current jail population in any average county. Do your research on that. Let me go back to an initial point that you made. An initial point that you made was that you are antithetical to the cancel culture. Do you not find it ironic that you are adversarial to the cancel culture, but at the same time you are pro-cancel culture as it relates to the current fictional character known as Captain America? You're pro-canceling him, but you still project to be an anti-culture individual or anti-cancel culture individual?
Well, you might have a chance of making a solid point there if I had called out the writer by name. If I said I don't want this comic book writer to ever work again, and that's what cancel culture is. Listen, I'm just trying to send a message to Marvel Comics that they shouldn't be letting one of their most beloved characters be used as communist propaganda. I'm not calling for anyone to be fired. I'm not gonna pick at their offices. That's cancel culture.
That's so cute. But I have to be reminded that you are a comedian, in fact. So let me read some of the things that people like you are very upset about based on what this fictional character is saying. Because that dream doesn't get along nicely with reality, other cultures, immigrants, the poor, the suffering, people easily come to be seen as different or un-American. That's a bad statement to you?
Yes, and not only is it a bad statement, I think it's inherently false. I don't know when Captain America was brainwashed. America, we get along wonderfully with other cultures. We are a giant melting pot. Since when did we not get along with other cultures or immigrants? We've always gotten along with immigrants. That's another real head scratcher.
So let me provide some context since you are obviously unaware.
Yes.
Do you believe racism exists in America?
Yes.
Do you believe sexism exists in America?
Yes.
Do you think that people in America
if you're saying,
just give me a moment, sir. Give me a moment. We'll get to your response. Do you believe that individuals in America who are different from the white male-dominated societal construct are at times treated unfairly based on their skin color, religious expression, or cultural expression that may be different?
Yes.
So how can you say that in America, holistically, we have always gotten along with other cultures?
Well, first of all, I didn't say we've always gotten along with other cultures, but for the vast majority, we do. Just like I don't consider going 3 minutes over the speed limit a crime.
What they do was my point. They do. The laws that are written consider that a crime.
Right, but no one goes to jail for going 3 miles an hour over the speed limit. No one goes to jail for 50 cents on their taxes. America is an inherently a good place. America is inherently anti-racist already. That's the American dream. It doesn't matter your skin color, where you came from, your background, your ethnicity. You can become everything, and that dream is alive and well.
Let me ask you this question about a recent survey that was done that showed that 78% of all black workers say they have experienced discrimination, racial discrimination inside of their workplace. Do you think 70+% of black people are lying about that in America?
Well, I'm not familiar with the poll you're citing, but I would definitely question the research. I definitely think that statistic is incredibly high. And I think if I had my own people conducting my own poll, I could find numbers that go the exact opposite way. I mean, the polls aren't worth the paper they're printed on.
Well, let me tell you,
here's a great one. 6% or only 24% of Democrats think that the news is doing a good job. So the vast majority of Americans are ill-informed. So
okay, all right. So let me do this, brother. When you say things like you don't believe in the research, you don't believe the paper that is written on, let me give you some background to a scientific poll. I'm a research scientist. I've been a professor since 2016. A scientific poll means on the other side of that poll is a human being. And a human being has taken the time to say, here's what happened to me, here's my story, here's what I experienced. And then that human being, that person, that unique individual who took the time to say, here's what I have experienced in my workplace, it is then connected to a data set. And that data set is distributed for us to understand systemic issues inside of workplaces throughout America. So when you say that the poll is not worth the paper, brother, what you're really doing is invalidating the black people who took the poll and gave their experience. And you're trying to invalidate their personal stories because you don't like the conclusion of it. At the same time, you, as your rebuttal, decided to throw up another polling stat that you agree with, but you cannot agree with the polling stat I just gave you. Black folks are not lying about workplace discrimination. You got black friends, Michael?
I do.
Do you know of any of your black friends that have experienced discrimination in their life?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and do you believe them when they tell you that, correct?
Yeah.
Now, let's just do this exercise for a moment. Believe black people. If you just said, okay, I'm going to believe that the majority of black people in America are actually telling the truth. They have experienced racial discrimination in their workplace. What's your response to that? Deal with it on that angle. What would you say?
I would say you voted for the wrong guy for president. I believe that the solution, if you have been discriminated against in the workplace, your solution is to create your own workspace and to encourage black businesses and black entrepreneurship. And where Donald Trump had a plan for opportunity zones and to get massive amounts of cash, I believe it was $500 billion into these poor communities, and black entrepreneurship was just rising like a rocket ship.
All right, that's
why
a lie.
in the heck did you vote for Joe Biden?
Yeah,
Joe Biden, the KKK Klansman,
Michael,
and holding complete and total racist.
Obviously, you are allergic to facts, but let me give you some facts here. Under the Trump administration, the average hourly rate for black men and black women started to decrease in comparison to white men and white women working the same job with a similar background. That's your workplace disparity in pay rate. That number was going in the right direction under President Obama. It started moving in the wrong direction where black men and black women were getting paid less on the dollar under Donald Trump. That is a cause and effect relationship because of the Department of Justice refusing to prosecute crimes of workplace discrimination aggressively. So these employers took advantage of that, knowing that no longer was there a watchful eye. Also, to your point about opportunity zones, I don't think you understand opportunity zones. Opportunity zones do not create opportunity for the people zoned in that local community. They create opportunity and tax abatements for developers to come in at a decreased tax rate to develop in that local community, artificially raising the property value and making everybody's property value in those lower income communities skyrocket. And it leads to displacement and irresponsible gentrification. Thirdly, brother, when you bring up businesses, black businesses skyrocketed under Trump, black people under the presidency of Trump made over $800 less annually than in the previous administration. Those are facts, brother. You need to look.
So your solution is let the poor people stay poor. Forget opportunity.
No, what the hell are you talking about? How in the hell did you get that out of anything I said?
Let the inner city continue to crumble. Just let it continue to crumble.
Yeah,
you just want a bigger hourly wage. Okay. And who cares that black entrepreneurship and black small-owned businesses were up over 400% under Donald Trump? Don't you think
no, sir. Once again,
owning your own business?
Michael, I got to go ahead and correct you on the record again. Technical ownership of a company has continued to increase for all races in America. When we're talking about entrepreneurship, we're talking about people that can pay the bills, right? That's what we really want to see. The Trump administration used a U3 rating system, not a U6 rating system. We're talking about employment numbers and ownership. U3 simply said if you work 1 hour in a 30-day survey month, you were considered employed, fully employed by the administration. The U6 rating system is your real rating system. It showed that black unemployment and underemployment was still at 22%, brother. Those are facts. And while we could talk about black businesses skyrocketing, brother, you realize less than 1% of black-owned businesses got access to the COVID money that came out? Less than 1% of black-owned businesses got access to that money under the Trump administration.
Well, then I'm sure Joe Biden has remedied that. I can't believe you're so cavalier about not where it should be, black-owned businesses.
Oh, I love black-owned businesses, really brother. I shop at black-owned businesses, and I support black-owned businesses in my complete narrative. You do not. You use it as a political talking point. That's it. But I do appreciate you being on the show. I'm flat out of time, brother. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, and I enjoy your assumptions and your fictions.
Says the guy who is pissed off at an actual fictional character. You are a comedian. Thank you, sir, for the laughs. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, remember this. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of this planet. And remember, the truth is always indisputable.